Everybody, we've got about 15 more people to admit, and we will be ready to start. Thank you.
When you're already late, I know smoking sign on your cigarette break. It's like 10,000 spoons when all you need is a knife. It's meeting the man of my dreams and then meeting his beautiful wife. And isn't it ironic? Don't you think? A little too ironic. And yeah, I really do think it's like rain on your wedding day. It's a free ride on your morning bed. It's the good advice that you just didn't take. And who would have thought it figures? And yeah, life is a funny way of sneaking up on you. And life is a funny, funny way of helping you out, helping you out.
Good morning, delegates. We are ready to begin, so I will call this meeting to order. My name is James Reyes, pronouns he, him, o si eres hispanohablante, mis pronombres son él, lo. I am the chair of the Democratic Party of Denver. Welcome to the 2024 Democratic Assembly. Thank you for attending caucus last week and standing up to be a delegate. The caucus and assembly process is where the party building starts. And because of your participation, you're determining what the party will look like and what the values of the party will be. Remember, the party doesn't define you, you define the party. Thank you, delegates. We have a lot to do this November. Yes, Denver is safe, but our job in Denver is to make sure that we turn out the vote to support the entire state. This year, there are two statewide races that are critical for us to win. We must win Colorado for President Biden and Vice President Harris, and we must win Colorado for the CU region at large race. Let's not underestimate the importance of school boards. We know the right is zero focused on these races. They have been on a mission to undermine our institutions for decades, including undermining and propagandizing our public education system. As we all know, a rock-solid public education system, including public higher education, is critical for a vibrant democracy. And we know that our democracy is under assault today. But I want you to keep in mind that today there are a lot of disaffected Republicans who feel out of place in today's Trump Republican Party. They are not necessarily people who will become members of our party, but these are people that may and will vote for President Biden and Democrats. They may be thinking that it's tough for me to vote for a Democrat, but I can't stand Donald Trump, so I'll hold my nose and vote for a Democrat for the first time in my life. If you ask Republicans how many think the 2022 election was stolen, about 70% say yes, 30% say no. As an example, if you look at Nikki Haley's support across the party, especially in places like South Carolina or New Hampshire, her support sat at around 30%. Some of these people will still vote for Trump. But the point that I'm trying to make here is that there are a lot of voters out there that we can reach and that can be persuaded into voting for Democrats. And with the country so evenly split, we have an opportunity to see a landslide election if we can reach and convert these people to Biden and to become Democratic voters. And Trump is really doing a lot of the work for us. While Trump is purging the party, purging it of Nikki supporters, Romney types, rhinos. President Biden is explicitly asking these folks to join our coalition. Denver Democrats pledge resources to help in competitive House and Senate district races in the suburbs and the exurbs. We also pledge resources to help keep Congresswoman Yadira Caradeo in office in CD8. We pledge resources to help win Congressional District 3 for Democrats, now that Lauren Boebert is running in CD4. And speaking of CD4, how about that Ken Buck? I mean, according to Buck, there may be more Republicans stepping down soon, resigning themselves out of their House majority. Once Republicans are doing good work for the country. Now there's going to be a special election in CD4. And admittedly, that's a tough district for Democrats. But in today's climate, I think we should give it a shot. And Denver Democrats can and will help. I want to thank my officers, First Vice Chair Leah Dean, Second Vice Chair Jared Bynum, Secretary Abe Call, Treasurer Beth Turner, Assistant Secretary Matthew Logan, and Assistant Treasurer Stella Yu. In past years, we've had at least a couple of weeks between caucus, which was just last Thursday, and assembly today. But because of some conflicts in the calendar, we had to schedule assembly with just a little over a week's time after caucus. And this required quick work on a large project. So I want to thank our team of volunteers who came in the day after caucus to enter the results from all 301 precinct caucuses into VAN, which is our voter database, in order to generate a list of all the duly elected delegates who can reach out to you. I want to thank folks that stepped in on that day. Adam Argestinger, Eileen McCarron, Larry Gallegos, Jeff Withers, Gene Fisher, John Sefkin, Mandy Gutowski, Scott Balderman, Scott Mangino, Megan Stevens, Terry Lopez, Tim Richmond, Cynthia Gallegos, Homer Meyer, Joel Schmidt, Jeff Withers, and counting all the buck bag money that we collected on caucus night, Beth Turner and Stella Yu. Hours of work from these dedicated volunteers. I also want to give a special thank you to a small but extremely dedicated group of people who put in tireless hours all week validating delegates, making sure proxies were assigned, designing and testing the tech we use. I'm especially grateful to these amazing people. Scott Mangino, our tech captain, Mary Geising, our credentials chair, Kate Sneed, our rules chair, Susan Rogers, our rules vice chair. And I want to give a very special thank you to Megan Stevens, who is our operations director, who stayed up with me on many a late night, getting prepped for caucus and assembly. So today we left the chat open. And as Democrats, we may disagree on some issues, and that's okay. However, I do ask that we please engage in respectful dialogue and always treat others with courtesy and give others the benefit of the doubt. If there's any behavior that we notice in the chat that intimidates others, disrupts proceedings, etc., that behavior will not be tolerated. And a warning will be given, and if the behavior persists, the individual will be removed from the meeting. Please don't direct an instant message to me in the chat. I will not be monitoring the chat. So if you need help, state that in the chat, and the Credentials Committee will be able to give you assistance. This meeting is being simulcast on YouTube. I want to welcome everyone watching. First, we will have the larger county assembly and convention, and then we will break out into House districts and then into Senate districts. We've done Zoom simulcasts on YouTube before, but today we're going to try to do something a little different because we are also going to break out into our House district and Senate district meetings afterwards. We want to be as transparent, as open as possible. So what we're going to try to do, and put those words "try" in capital letters, is to simulcast the HD4, HD6, and HD8, which have contested races on YouTube as well. But this is a little unproven, and we're keeping our fingers crossed that this works. So please be patient. For those of you watching on YouTube, after the countywide meeting ends, just go back to our YouTube channel, Denver Democrats, and you should see the live streams there. Pick the one that you want to watch and enjoy. So please be patient. Our fingers are crossed. Before we begin, I would first love to recognize our amazing Congresswoman from Congressional District 1. I would love to give the floor to Congresswoman Diana DeGette. Congresswoman. Let's see, is the Congresswoman there? Let's give the Congresswoman a quick minute. If you could go back to the last slide. Okay, real quick. Congresswoman, are you there?
I'm here.
All right. Thank you, Congresswoman, for joining us this morning. The floor is yours.
Good morning. Good morning, Denver Democrats. And I'm a lifetime Denver Democrat, so I'm happy to be with you. In the last Congress, I was so happy to serve with Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi as the Speaker of the House, and Chuck Schumer as the leader of the Senate. And as you know, we did so much in that Congress. We passed so many bills, the Build Back Better Act, the Inflation Reduction Act, the CHIPS Act, so many things. And by the way, Nancy Pelosi and the leadership in the House, including me, did that with about the same majority the Republicans have now. And what we did, we lowered prescription drug prices. We made insulin capped at $35 a bottle for senior citizens. And we had the biggest investment in climate infrastructure in our nation's history. Much of that money is coming down right now to cities and states. Right here in Denver, we've had millions of dollars come here just for lead pipe remediation. And I think you can see more. So that was great last Congress. Then sadly, we went from that Congress to this Congress, which of course, as you know, is the biggest do-nothing Congress we've ever had. It's so bad in the House right now that even ultra-conservative Ken Buck couldn't take it anymore. He's going to resign at the end of next week. And when he does, then the Republicans will have only a 1-vote majority in the U.S. House. And as James mentioned, this could even get more interesting as time goes on. We're ready at a moment's notice to elect Hakeem Jeffries Speaker if we do have a working majority. But in the meantime, I guess a do-nothing House is probably just as well for now, because the MAGA agenda that the Republicans have right now is so great that I'm happy they're not passing any of their bills. But they want to make a national ban on abortion. Many of them even want to make a national ban on IVF. They want to drill more fossil fuels instead of becoming independent from fossil fuels. And they want to gut Social Security and Medicare. We've been able to stop them so far because of aggressive pushback in the House and because we control the Senate and the White House. But as James said, in the next Congress, we need to move forward. We need to keep the Senate. We need to keep Joe Biden and Kamala Harris in the White House, and we need to take the House back. Here in Colorado, we need to keep Brittany Pedersen and Yadira Carveo in the House, and we need to elect Adam Frisch to the 3rd Congressional District, and we could have done that whether Lauren Boebert was there or not. And we also, and the reason we need to do this is because we need to move forward in our country. We need to make Roe versus Wade the law of the land. We need to protect Social Security and Medicare. We need to truly expand healthcare, and we need to work to make a sensible Mideast policy. I just want to talk about that this morning because these are fraught times. We need to make sure that we have a bilateral permanent ceasefire. We need to make sure the hostages are returned. We want to make sure that there's humanitarian aid to Gaza, and we want to make sure there's a permanent 2-state solution. We also immediately and going forward need to stand with our ally, Ukraine, and we need to make sure that we give them what they need to defend themselves. So as our dear friend Joe Biden would say, here's the deal. Here's the deal. The road to victory in 2024 goes straight through Denver. As James said, we need to get out the vote to make sure that we win Colorado for Joe Biden. But also, all of us can help in our own way with these congressional races, with all of the national races. That's what I intend to do. And as your partner, I know 2024 will be a victorious and glorious year. We will put Donald Trump to rest forever, and we will have a brighter future for our city, our state, and our country. Let's go, Democrats. Thanks, James, and back to you.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman. I'm so glad you're able to join us this morning. Next, we're going to rearrange the agenda just a little bit in the interest of timing. I'd love to give the floor now to our amazing Attorney General, Phil Weiser. Phil, are you there?
I am here. Can you see
All right.
me and hear me okay, James?
I hear you. Let's see if we can get you spotlit.
All right.
right.
Thank you, Diana DeGette. Thank you so much, James. Thank you all, Denver Democrats. It is wonderful for us to be together virtually and look forward to when we can be together in person. James, your leadership is in a spectacular line. Mark Kamen, Melissa, so many others who've devoted so much time to our party. I know we've got a Zoom full of people. I want to tell you, this is a critical time for our party. And Diana mentioned a do-nothing Congress, which of course reminds me of what Harry Truman faced. And we're at a moment like 1948, where we have to ask about what the American dream means and whether or not we can live what is a critical aspiration to have a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. The MAGA agenda is a real threat. We need to articulate what's at stake in this election, why people need to show up and engage and recognize this is a team sport. I'm working on something called Project Horizon, getting people deep canvassing in the critical areas of Adams County where Yadira Caraveo's race was razor thin last time. Last time she faced the Libertarian candidate. This time she doesn't. That's a tough race. We have to win the House. Folks want to get involved, please reach out to me, let James know this deep canvassing effort, we can be involved. As we show up and listen, we can serve people, serve with an agenda that is about freedom and opportunity for all. As your Attorney General, that's my true north. My family came here with nothing as refugees and was welcomed in this country. And I went in one generation from a mom born in a Nazi concentration camp to being your Attorney General. That's what America's about. Reproductive freedom means people get to choose their own destiny and equal rights for all, that women aren't forced to have a child against their will, aren't denied access to IVF or even birth control. All that's on the agenda right now. Thinking about freedom to join a union is critical, that we need to work together to make sure that we protect workers. I'm proud to have stood with workers at Anheuser-Busch who are striking against concerns. I'm fighting this merger between King Soopers and Safeway, which will affect workers and consumers. A lot of people feel like they're being squeezed. Well, I'm here to stand up for people. And that's why we've taken on companies like Wyatt's Towing or First Star Realty, getting back millions of dollars to consumers. When it comes to how we work together, we got to recognize this is a team sport. Our democracy really, truly is about the rule of law, about people honoring a basic American idea. It doesn't matter who you are, you need to be accountable, treated equally and fairly under the law. And too often that's not what's happening. If someone is struggling with opioid use disorder or mental health issues, they're vulnerable. We're fighting to take on this opioid crisis. The people who made a whole bunch of money, like Purdue Farm and the Sackler family, are gonna have to pay up. We've gotten $770 million already committed to Colorado. I'm here to fight for you, fight for people. That's what this work's about. That's what this election is about. I so appreciate all of you. Look forward to working with you. Our great party chairs in the chat put up the Horizon Project. You can take a look about it. This is a spirit that we'll see. Hope to see you guys in person next week at the Obama Fest and some of you at the dinner. We got a lot of work to do. Thrilled to have such great leaders to do it with. Thank you so much, James Stein. Thank you all.
Thank you, Attorney General. Glad you were with us today. I'm going to give the floor next to our state party chair, Shad Murab. Shad, are you there?
I think I'm here. Can you hear me okay?
Loud and clear.
Awesome. Hey, thanks so much, everybody. And it's a tough act to follow Attorney General Weiser and Congresswoman DeGette. My name is Shad. I'm the chair of the Colorado Democratic Party. And I just wanted to chime in briefly to say thank you for everyone on this call for being a delegate, for participating and making sure we're choosing excellent candidates to carry the torch in Denver. As you can see, I'm not in Denver. I am just outside of Pueblo, where I just got fired up in a Steelworkers Hall by the amazing turnout that we had for the Pueblo Assembly today. You know, Lauren Boebert can move wherever the hell she wants. We're doubling down on rural Colorado, and we're doubling down on CD3, CD4, CD5. It doesn't matter to me where she lives. We want to make sure that we get these types of folks out of Congress. Just like the Congresswoman described, this is bigger than our favorite issue in some ways. This feels bigger than our favorite candidate. It feels like this election, our democracy is actually on the line. And I know it can sound cliche to say that, but Donald Trump is promising that democracy and elections are merely a suggestion. What I don't think he's accounting for is that there's 558 people on Zoom right now ready to stand up for the community. So my ask of you today is to leave this Zoom with the spirit of knocking on every single door you can, on making sure you make every phone call you can, because when Denver turns out, when Boulder turns out, when this really nice blue streak that James and Mark and others have worked so hard to get for us on the Front Range turns out, that gives us the space to go do the incredibly hard work of electing Democrats in rural areas. We've been winning elections in places that we have no business winning in. You all know Jared Munger, who's fighting the good fight in the Eastern Plains, electing Democrats in Brush up in northern Colorado. We took the school board in Loveland and the city council in Loveland. And we actually swept the school board in Gunnison, and we're winning seats in Alamosa. That's because of you guys. It's because of Denver doing their part to make sure that we keep the state blue so we can focus on these important local races. So with that, I'll pause there to say thank you. I really appreciate everyone for being on this call, and you have one of the absolute best leaders in James Reyes. I'm so privileged to call him a friend and so privileged to be able to work with him day in and day out. So thank you again. We'll talk soon, and I'll see you out there. Oh, one more thing. Come to DemFest next weekend.
Yes.
And it's a free all-day event to honor our working people. The title sponsor is AFL-CIO. We're working closely with labor unions to make sure we're celebrating the anniversary of the Affordable Care Act. You'll hear from candidates for DNC and for CU Region and more. So please come and hang out with us.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Glad you were with us today. And yeah, I'll be at DemFest as well. So hope to see you all there. I'd love to now give the floor to Congressman Jason Crow. Congressman, are you there?
I'm here, James. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Go ahead.
Great. Thank you, James Reyes. Thank you, Denver Dems. I'm so proud to now be a Denver Dem with the recent round of redistricting. It's so wonderful to be with all of you and to join my colleague, Diana DeGette, who's a wonderful friend and does amazing work for Colorado, as does Brittany Pedersen, Yadira Carabeo, and Joe Neguse, and others. I wanted to just briefly come on and join you and talk about the moment that we are in as I see it. And I know I'm preaching to the choir here because you all wouldn't be here if you didn't share your concerns and if you didn't have already a commitment to this project. But, there's a lot of discussion right now about where we are as a party, where we are with debate and unity. Unity has always been our power, but unity does not equal no debate, right? I don't want to belong to a party or any organization where we can't have full debate, we can't have freedom of expression, where we can't bring our passions and our disagreements to the table and come up with better ideas and to shape better policy and to change and evolve our policy as we have to. But the simple fact of the matter is we're up against folks that don't do that, right? There is no debate, there is no dissent. They are in lockstep. And these folks that we're up against, the Donald Trump Republican Party, because make no mistake, this is not the Republican Party of our parents or grandparents anymore. This is Donald Trump's party. He has fully captured that. There is no debate. There is only fealty to Donald Trump. And let's not forget how bad the last Trump administration was. We know that. A second one would be far, far worse and would go to the very roots of our democracy. So we simply must find a way to come together, to unify, to support our candidates and to win while we continue to have the discussions that we have to have and to move our policy in a more fair, equitable, and just direction. Because at the end of the day, environmental issues, the climate crisis, the access to abortion, gun violence, student debt and cost of housing, having a more fair, just, equitable foreign policy that centers the rights of all people, shaping immigration policy, access to healthcare, in the solvency of Social Security, the union's right to organize, and the very right to vote. All of these things are on the ballot, and all of these things are at great risk if we cannot come together, support our candidates, and fight and win. Now, none of us wanted to wake up in a moment where we're dealing with political extremism, where we're dealing with threats to our elected officials, we're dealing with a level of extremism that we haven't seen in generations in our politics. None of us wanted to be in an era where, for the first time in history, a fundamental constitutional right that was yanked away from, over half of America, and they continue to attack the right to access abortions. None of us wanted to be in the era where the very foundations of our democracy are being contested by Donald Trump and his party. But the nature of leadership is you never get to choose your moment. None of us get to choose the moment. All we have to choose is what we are willing to do, to come forward and sacrifice and put it all on the line to win and to protect those things we hold so dear, so we can continue to move us in the direction of a more perfect union that we have not yet achieved, but we can continue to move in that direction. So I'm very proud to be with you. I look forward to working with you in that project in the months ahead. So let's get it done, folks. Thanks for having me. Back to you, James.
Thank you so much, Congressman. It was an honor to have you. One thing I want to bring up really quick, if we go back to the Century Club slide, Jared, running all the work we do in the party, whether it's hosting caucus, whether it's hosting events like this. Now, granted, it's not that expensive to do a Zoom meeting, but we have other things to pay, like rent and payroll, and software is really expensive. There's just a lot of costs to running the party. And really, this party is driven by our Century Club program. And really what drives Century Club are the small donations that add up, and that matters a lot. And it's my hope that as a party, we can raise funds in a more grassroots manner, rather than relying on big donors. And of course, I definitely appreciate those big donations. But what I ask for all of you today is that if you could just join Century Club at just the $10 level, if I could get most of you, there's 562 participants in this Zoom. Just imagine all of you here joining just at the $10 level, $10 a month to join the Century Club. And if you can do more, that is certainly appreciated. But right there, there's a link, denverdemocrats.org/donate, our party website, and join Century Club today. It would mean all the world to us. It would expand our capacity in November to reach more voters. We have a lot of expenses related to getting out the vote, whether it's printing up slate cards, sending out text messages, and even doing digital advertising on different platforms to reach voters. And that really is the name of the game this year, is reaching as many voters in Denver to turn out the vote to support those statewide races. So please consider joining Century Club, even at the $10 level. It makes all the difference in the world. Thank you. I would like now to recognize our Credentials Committee Chair, Mary Geisinger, for the credentials report. Mary.
Hello, hello. I have the pleasure of announcing quorum today. Quorum numbers, we needed 245 people to show up for 40%. We have 522 delegates and proxies. So we may proceed with business.
All right, thank you so much, Mary.
We're not hearing that.
One other thing we need to do is I need to get a motion to approve the election of the precinct organizers who were elected at caucus last week. This action by the Assembly will confirm all the folks who were elected at caucus last week. Would somebody make that motion, please?
So moved.
I motion Michael Robert Jerome to accept the precinct organizer from the last caucus.
Mr. Secretary, call it. Who made the motion?
Now they've got you up on the.
It looks like Josh Diller made the motion and Vernon Jones seconding. All right, so the motion is on the floor. Is there any discussion? So I would ask you to use your reactions. There is a hand reaction if you want to speak. No, is there a motion? Okay. Senator Julia Gonzalez? No, so raise your hand if you want to speak.
I don't know how. Thanks for raising.
Okay, hands are going down. Andrew Hornbrook, did you want to speak?
I don't see hands.
And please make sure that you stay muted until you're recognized by the chair.
So all in favor of approving the election of the precinct organizers at caucus, please indicate by voting yes, using your reactions. Not hands, remember there's a circle with a check mark or a circle with an X. Use those because those total up the nut counts for us. So use those, please.
I don't have that.
Check or X. Still see a lot of hands. We want to get to a total. The hand doesn't give us a total. It's the circle with a check mark. And we do need to record the actual counts in this meeting, so please use those.
I'm sorry, I don't see a hand with a check mark.
If you click on reactions, there's a button at the bottom of your screen called reactions. It looks like a little smiley face. In there, you'll see options for a checkbox, an X, and other things. We want to use the check mark or the X. It's all right.
To be clear,
we'll
a
be patient here. Get this right. It's fine.
check mark is a vote for passing.
Yes, that's right. A check mark is a vote for yes. All right. So let's vote. We are voting to approve the election of the precinct organizers that were elected at caucus last week.
You'll have to do it once for the boxes.
If you're in the room, please make sure you're in.
So it looks like we're at about 165 yes. Thumbs up and hands don't count. 171 yes. There's 563 people in this meeting. Let's get a majority, please.
Not every edition of Zoom has this feature. If someone doesn't have a new feature, they cannot see this reaction or vote this manner.
It's different on iPad. You need to click on the top of the page and there's a pull down menu that will appear.
Please make sure that you stay muted unless you are recognized by the chair. If you would like to speak, you can raise your hand and the chair will recognize you.
All right, so this is a practice round for the rest of the meeting, so it's fine. Let's get this down because we're going to do this a few times in this meeting. I need to get to 281 votes. I'm almost there. Now we did it. Okay, so the resolution passes. Thank you. All right. Next on the agenda, I'd love to give it to our Permanent Organization Committee Chair, Adrian Felix, who will present the Permanent Organization Report. Adrian.
Hi there. Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? Are we good? Okay. Hi there. So I am here today to pass the Permanent Organization Report. This is the report that will serve for the rules for the assemblies that you will all be gathering at today. A Perm Org report was sent with the call. So I hope that you had time to review it because it does go over quite a few of the rules that are set out for today. It's really not too different in terms of process. So if you've done this before, it's pretty much the same thing. I'd like to thank the Perm Org report for helping me put this together. We were kind of given a few variables in terms of whether or not this would be happening virtually or in person. Obviously, this is happening virtually. So the Perm Org report is written as such. The major changes that we made to the report were for electronic voting, as well as debate on the platform, which we are allowing within this meeting. If you have any questions, let me know. We didn't receive any questions, so I think that we might be fine with that. I'm just going to say, go ahead, and if we can entertain a motion to approve the permanent organization report for this meeting.
Leah Dean, so moved.
Can we get a second?
Lorna Cornish,
Second.
All right, there is a second. So now we can begin discussion if there is any, and if not, we can take a vote.
If you have any discussion, please use the raise hand feature and you will be recognized by the chair of the Perm Org Committee. Please make sure you use the raise hand feature only if you have anything to say.
So I see a question about how do we vote for proxy. So I think it needs to be clarified now. What we should have done in that first round of voting is we should have taken a round of voting for people with a regular vote and then do a second round of voting for people with proxies, and that should add to the total. So hopefully as we do this report, that is done correctly. Let's see what else. Oh, how do I take people with hands up? Go ahead, Michael.
Michael, you've got the floor. Michael Bender, did you have anything to say?
Oh, nothing. I'm sorry.
Okay, we will mute you again. The next hand that we see up is Janet Caspers. Janet, do you need to add to this?
No, I'm fine.
Okay, please make sure that you're only using the raise hand function if you have something to add. Seth Foldy.
Just a question about the mechanics of voting. I saw many people putting check marks in the chat. Do I understand that is not the way to vote?
That is not the way to vote. No.
Okay, rather to go to reactions, bottom of our screen, and check the check mark if we see it there.
That is correct.
Thank you. Thank you.
Adrian, the next hand up is Chris Ferris. Chris.
Hi, myself and I think several other people do not have a check mark under the reactions button. I can see my reaction button. I can press it. Does not give me a check mark as a choice. And I see that's true for other people in the chat.
Yeah, I will let more tech savvy people handle that question because every version of Zoom should have that reaction. So
whenever you see your reactions button, there should be a little arrow pointing up. I am currently on a Mac. For the Mac users saying that they do not have this option, I'm on a Mac. If you do the reactions button, it will show you all of your different reaction options.
Yes, I understand that. And I click on that. I'm not on a Mac. It gives me a thumbs up or a hand, and that's it.
You should see a green check mark and a red X. And James, correct me if I'm wrong, but we've used this for the last few years. Is that correct? Is how we've been voting?
I'm sorry, but that's just not true on my computer. I don't know why. And it's...
Yeah, so there's a more, if you look at the bar at the bottom of your screen, if you have a smaller screen, there's a more at the very right. It looks like an ellipsis, like 3 dots. Click that. And in there, it should reveal a reactions option, which looks like a smiley face.
Okay.
Click that reactions smiley face. And in there, you'll see your check boxes and your X's.
Okay. I think my screen was too small and I just
Yeah, that's
opened
probably what it is.
Yep,
So,
got it.
Yep.
Doug Crane.
Yes, I just want to clarify on the iPad. You can find that more function, but it appears only if you tap the top of the screen. Okay, so if you do that, it'll show you the more, and at that point you can bring down some of the other options that are available. So I've had to resort to my iPad because my trees knocked down my power lines this week and I don't have internet. So I'm on my iPad.
So sorry to hear that. Next up, we have Khadijah Haynes. Khadijah?
Thank you. I just want to point out that the free versions of Zoom do not include this feature. So unless you are using a paid version, you cannot see that feature.
Khadijah, I'm on the free version and I have that feature.
It could also be that you have a more recent laptop than everyone who might be accessing the call.
This is Linda Perkin. I think there's a difference
Okay, so
if you.
Hold on, please.
Please wait to be recognized before speaking.
Okay.
Thank you for the feedback. The next person is Anne Marie Jackson.
Hi, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, go ahead, Anne Marie.
Okay, I'd like to know, I'm able to find the reaction and I've clicked on the check mark. How can I tell it took? Does it like light up or do something? Because I'm not sure.
So there'll be a green check right above your name on your screen. So that is how you will know if you are able to vote. If you have a technical question, please put it in the chat at this point and someone will call you directly and we will address it offline, because at this point we need to get moving in our agenda. So Brady, do you have
I thought this was important because I want to make sure that you're counting my vote. So thank you.
So Anne Marie, someone will call you directly. Please have your cell phone ready. Brady, do you have a question around the permanent org report or a discussion?
No, I moved to table discussion and vote on the previous question.
Thank you so much, Brady. So the currently we have a motion to discuss. Sorry, what was the last motion? It was, I didn't write down the details.
I said sorry. I moved to table discussion and vote on the previous question.
Yeah, well, we have.
So the motion on the floor was to approve the permanent organization committee report.
Second. Do we need a second?
We already have a second. The motion's on the floor. We were in discussion on that motion.
Okay, well, discussion is closed. Let's go ahead and take a vote. So remember, this first round of voting, this is not a proxy vote. This is if you are a delegate and you're voting for yourself. So again, reactions and then the green check mark.
I appreciate everyone's patience here. This is, we got it's a complicated meeting. We've got a lot of people here working on it. So thank you for your patience.
Abe, I'll let you decide when we'll stop and then we'll move to the proxy vote. I should. Okay. Well, I don't know. I don't see the numbers though. Okay, so we're gonna stop it at 370 and 380.
375. Let me clear it. And then...
Okay, so 375 yeses and 0 nos. So now we're going to clear it, and if you are voting for a proxy, you may now vote.
Oh, this is on the permanent organization report.
That is correct. Okay, we're going to stop it at 65 yes and 1 no. Well, obviously with the two yes numbers combined, that resolution has passed. The permanent org committee report is done. Thank you all so much and good luck to the candidates.
All right, thank you very much. So now we have rules for this meeting and we can proceed. All right, so the first business is to conduct a preference poll for CU region at large. And what this preference poll will do is it'll help us determine the allocation of delegates to the state assembly and convention. So we all went to caucus, and remember, we did this at caucus as well. So this is just the next step of that. We do the same thing we did at caucus. If you remember the worksheet with the two tables, we literally are doing that again here, but at a larger scale. And then after that, when we break out into our House District meetings later, the results of the poll that we take now, the preference poll for CU region, will determine the distribution of delegates for the CU region at large candidates. So what we'll do first is allow there are two candidates for CU region at large. We will allow them to speak. Each candidate for preference polls will get 3 minutes total. There is no need for a nomination or a second. It's simply the candidate speaking. And the order that will determine who speaks first is based on the date that we received those letters of intent from the candidates. And so the two candidates are Elliot Hood. We received his letter on January 18th. And the second candidate is Charles Johnson. We received his letter on February 5th. So what I'd like to do now is give the floor to Elliot Hood for 3 minutes.
Thanks so much, James. And hello, Denver Democrats. Just wanted to say, oh, James, am I ready to go? Okay.
Floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. Well, it's great to be with you, Denver Democrats. It's been great to engage with you over the course of this campaign. My name is Elliot Hood, and I'm a candidate for the CU Board of Regents, which is the governing board of the largest higher ed institution in this state, third largest employer in Colorado. I'm a very proud CU grad. I'm a former public school teacher, and I'm an education attorney that represents public school districts across this beautiful state. As an attorney, I've stood up for anti-racism and gender inclusion policies. I've defended kids with disabilities, and I've also defended the use of masking and quarantining and other public health protocols that kept our kids safe during the pandemic. When I'm elected to the Board of Regents, my biggest priorities are going to be, number one, we've got to make CU more affordable and accessible for kids across this state. Number two, we've got to push CU to be more sustainable and commit to become carbon neutral. Three, we have got to ban concealed carry and get guns out of our classrooms where they simply do not belong. And of course, let's stand up for collective bargaining rights for all of our workers, because every single worker deserves the right to unionize, every single one. I'm so proud to be supported by Democrats across the state, and I would be so privileged to earn your support here today as well. Also at the April 13th virtual state assembly. I'll leave you with this. This is top of the ticket this year behind president, which means that the CU Regent race will be the only statewide race besides that race. That means that you'll get to vote for Joe and Kamala number 1 and Elliot Hood number 2 on your ballot in November. Let's go, Denver.
All right. Thank you so much, Elliot. Good to have you here today. I would now like to give the floor to Charles Johnson for 3 minutes.
Awesome. Thank you, James, and thank you, Denver County Democrats. My name is Charles Johnson. I'm coming to you actually from a union hall, the Steelworkers Union in Pueblo, where there's a room full of fired up Democrats ready to go for this upcoming election cycle. On January 1st, 1991, I stood shoulder to shoulder with many of my teammates as we won, representing the University of Colorado, at first national championship. But it wasn't my proudest moment as a CU buff. In 1988, I was voted as our Black Student Alliance president. In 1990, I was elected student body president as one of 3 tri-execs. In 2005, I served as an associate athletics director for 7 years, and I currently serve on the Leeds Business School's Board of Advisors, and I'm a member of the CU Board of Trustees currently. Now, why am I in this race? Tuition. We are out costing our families and our students from having access to an incredible education. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. I currently serve as the vice president of D&I for a Fortune 500 company based right here in Colorado. And as I mentioned, in 1988, I was Black Student Alliance president, and the conversations we were having then sounds eerily familiar with respect to the conversations we're having now as it relates to diversity, equity, and inclusion. We must make progress in this regard. Climate, CU is one of the nation's foremost research institutions. We must have a bigger voice and do a better job of making it clear what we're doing to our climate. And mental health services and awareness. I get readouts occasionally on the health and welfare of our student body. And let me tell you, it's much more dire than we are reacting. We must face this and handle this straight up. Now, let me tell you, if you ask me, why, CJ, are you running? Why are you in this race? I am the son of two parents. I'm one of 7 children. Neither one of my parents, who migrated from the segregated South when they were children, had access to any real formal education. Neither one of my parents had a high school diploma. I am the parent of 2 kids, Michaela, 26, Peyton, 24. Michaela graduated from Yale 4 years ago with honors. Peyton graduated from Columbia 2 years ago with honors. I only share this story because it's possible given the access to a great education that their dad had. I sit between 2 generations with completely different stories. I want that for the citizens of the state of Colorado, no matter what your background is. CU must serve the whole and not just the privileged or the wealthy. That's what's motivated me to be in this race.
30 seconds.
As we move forward. Thank you so much again, Denver Democrats, and I am fired up, ready to go. And again, I ask for your support during this process and beyond. Thank you all.
All right. Thank you so much, CJ. Glad to have you with us today. All right. What we'll do now is we will move into taking the preference poll. So what we've prepared is we have to use a ballot because we need the numbers on the results. So a link to a ballot will be posted into the chat, and you will use that ballot to cast your vote for preference for CU region at large. If you are holding a proxy, you may vote twice. There is an option in that form to indicate whether the vote is your own or whether it's for a proxy. So only if you are holding a proxy may you vote twice, and of course, make that indication on the ballot. So we will give 5 minutes for you to vote. Mary Geisinger, our credentials chair, just posted the link. And if we could refrain from chat just for a minute so that that link stays there at the bottom of the chat so folks can find that. You see it's a tiny URL, CU Region ballot. Please open that ballot and cast your vote. We'll take 5 minutes.
In the chat.
I'm trying to figure out how do I vote?
So there's a link that's been posted into the chat.
So I'm pushing the chat. Let me see, where's
We'll
the
post
chat?
a link. We'll post a link multiple times throughout this. If you could refrain from chatting just for a minute so that that link stays at the bottom of the chat. Otherwise, it gets buried in the chat and people can't find it. And you can resume chatting after we're done with voting.
I don't see it.
Seth, can I answer your question?
Yeah, the ballot includes a certification that we're members of the Central Committee. Can you speak to that? Because to my knowledge, I'm not.
We made a typo.
Okay. So we may disregard that statement.
Yes, we are of the assembly. We just made a mistake.
Please make sure that I did not vote. This is Irina.
Okay, who said that? Sorry.
This is Irina Tenenbaum. Can you
Okay.
make sure that I did not submit a check mark? Sorry.
Thank
Just
you.
clarification.
Understood. It's not
Thank
a check mark right now. It's in the tiny URL, which is the first thing in the chat is what we should be using. Beth and Marina, I see if you're good, I'm going to put your hand down.
Thank you.
You trying to do
Sorry, guys.
So I can vote. You stand up for a second.
Please mute yourself.
Yeah, please mute yourself and raise your hand in our rules. Chair will, Kate Sneed will recognize you.
Jackie, go ahead.
Hello, this is Jackie Boyard. I can't find anything in chat but chats. I don't see a
Okay.
ballot.
We'll have someone give you a call and work with you offline. Please hold.
Okay.
Kenneth, you're able to unmute and ask your question.
Yes, the question is, I actually put in an incorrect answer for the email
Were you
on the
still
ballot.
submit?
Yeah, I hit submit by mistake.
Okay. I'll have a credentials number call you. Can you give me your
Great.
phone numbers, please?
Yeah, 303-489-2447.
All right. Thank you. Someone will call you. Thank you, Kenneth.
Thank you.
Mary Beth, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Thank you. Are these votes confidential? Can others read how you voted?
Our credentials committee is able to vote or to review them here, and the candidates are allowed to have one person in the room to review the count as the credentials committee reviews them.
Okay, thank you.
Sloan.
Is there a reason that the hosts aren't just disabling chat for things like this so that you don't have to keep posting the link and deal with people chatting anyway?
Right.
I'm sorry, hold on one second, please. I'm having feedback and I can't hear your question.
Sorry, is that any better?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is there a reason that the hosts aren't just pausing chat or muting chat so that you don't have to keep posting the link and allowing people to chat anyway?
We'll consider it. Thank you for your feedback.
Yeah.
Mary Bryce.
Hi, Kate. Are we allowed to campaign in the chat? In the past, we weren't. So I'm just curious.
No, there's no campaigning or petitioning can happen inside Assembly. So since the chat is part of Assembly, there's no campaigning or petitioning inside the chat. Thank you for clarifying.
You so much.
Mary Beth.
Yes, because if we were, well,
If they were allowing it, I wanted to make sure we got off.
Mary, you're on not muted. Can you please mute yourself? It's on the table.
There's a
In
million.
HD 8 room or 6 room. Tyler Van Kirk, you can unmute yourself.
Awesome. I just wanted a quick clarification. This gets used to assign delegates, right? And we will be being delegates as representatives of the candidates that we supported, right? So this will eventually be public who you supported if you end up being a delegate.
Can you let Javier maybe?
The list will get sent forward on who gets to go to Assembly, correct? Yes, I do. Hold on.
Okay, yes, with their candidate preference. Okay.
Melissa.
Thank you so much. I'm sure that's so much hard work when it's setting this up, and I really appreciate it. I would just like to, with a lot of respect, suggest that maybe next time something is on Zoom, maybe have a practice day so that people who would like to learn more about the protocols or practice the protocols have a chance to do that.
Hello. Thank you for your feedback. If you have direct questions around voting, please raise your hand. If you just have feedback, please put it in the chat or send us an email. We don't have time for all of the feedback right now, and we
Hello?
can't make a change on the fly. Brenda, do you have a question?
Let's go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Brenda, we can hear you.
Okay, clarification, please. So after the preference poll and you select your candidate, it will not let you move on to the next page
Evie, Wanda.
unless you put
We'll give some more time for voting.
unless
Please
you
be
put
patient. Thank you.
central committee member. So clarify the central committee member.
Yes, it's a typo. It should say assembly. So all we're voting on right now is CU region at large. So you'll have one page with like 3 or 4 questions, and that's all you need to do. And then please sit patiently while we get through the rest of the people with their hands up.
Good job. Let's go.
All right, thank you.
Someone's correcting their child on the phone, so I'm going to mute everybody. All right. Let's see. Deborah Ortega, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Thank you. My question is whether or not, if you select uncommitted, the uncommitted is a category that's going to move on to the next step as a delegate. Or do you have to select one of the 2 candidates?
We're not doing delegates right now. We're strictly doing a preference poll. So if you select uncommitted, it will go into the calculation of about how many delegates the CU regents get at the state assembly. But at this point, we are not doing delegates. We are only doing a preference poll.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Ashika.
Hello, I need somebody to assist Marilyn Vessels in regarding getting access to the poll. She's having some technical difficulties. Can somebody reach out to Marilyn Vessels, please, to help her?
Yes, can I write on this? Can I please have a phone number on how they call her?
Do you have her information? I don't want to give it out loud.
Well,
Marilyn?
then you'll need to put it in the chat because I don't have, there's 600 of us on here and I
Okay,
can't
that's
guarantee
fine.
we'll look it up.
Are you ready?
So,
Are you ready for the number?
Yep.
It's 720-837-7595.
7595. Great. One of our credentials meeting members will call her right now.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you. Bob, go for it.
Could you repeat once again, just where we put our vote in?
How to put your vote in? Is that what you asked, Bob?
Yes.
So in the top of in the chat right now, there's a link. If you click on that link, you can then go, it'll take you to a ballot, and that is how you put in your preference poll.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh. Tyler.
Hey, Kate, I just want to ask, how's your day going? You doing okay?
Oh, thanks, Tyler. All right, I think, are we ready to call there's no more hands up, so.
All right, we are going to give a 1-minute warning before we close the ballot. So 1 minute, please. All right, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and close the ballot now. And I want to thank you all for voting. I do want to give a couple of thank yous to some new Century Club members. I want to thank Heather Tabano. I want to thank Daniel Hartley. I want to thank Hylius Reese. I want to thank Peter Zwanzig. Thank you so much for joining Century Club. And there's still a chance to join denverdemocrats.org/donate. All right. Terry Lopez, you're recognized.
Is there a reason the screen is black? I'm not able to see anybody.
That sounds like a problem on your end. If you need tech support, we can get somebody to help you out. Somebody can give you, you want to give her a call?
There's just a black.
Yeah, I think maybe that's an issue on your side, Terry. I don't think anybody else is having that issue, but we can get somebody to reach out and get a hold of you directly. All right. Oh, we got some more Century Club members. Let's see who else just joined. Philip Beck, thank you. All right. All right, thank you so much. What I'd like to do now is I'd like to give the floor, I believe we're ready for our amazing Secretary of State, Jenna Griswold. Secretary Griswold, are you there? She just joined, okay. Yes, please. Yes. All right. I do want to thank our Secretary of State, Jenna Griswold, for joining us this morning. Secretary Griswold, the floor is yours.
Perfect. Can you guys hear it? Okay. Hello,
Oh, there you go.
everybody.
Yeah, loud and clear. We got
Okay.
you. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you guys. Thank you to Denver Democrats for everything that you're doing, for the folks who have joined today. And I just want to say thank you for participating in caucus itself. Because 6 years ago, when I first ran for office, it seemed like an impossible task. At the age of 32, I was running for a seat a Democrat had not won in 60 years, facing a popular incumbent. And I'd never ran for office before. And on top of that, folks like me don't tend to run, they don't tend to win. I grew up in a cabin in rural Colorado on food stamps. And first to go to college, I'm not the typical type of person running for statewide office. But it's folks like you that organized all across the state in Denver and beyond. I went through caucus, became the Democratic nominee, and despite some really long odds, I became Colorado's first Democratic Secretary of State in 60 years, one of the few women ever to win statewide executive office, and the youngest Secretary of State in the country, which you should remember, even if I'm looking a little older, I still am the youngest. Do not forget that. No, I'm just kidding. But as Secretary of State, I've really focused on making sure our elections are more accessible and secure for all voters. That means increasing drop boxes by 65%, guaranteeing access on public universities and tribal lands, passing automatic voter registration, which has registered over 500,000 new voters in the state of Colorado, all while taking on dark money and special interests. Then in 2020, when the nation geared up for one of the most important elections in American history, the pandemic hit the nation and shut down everything. We saw that voting in democracy was at risk. So we got to work. We opened up even more access, more drop boxes across the state, set up statewide ballot tracking, and ensured Coloradans could make their voices heard. But we also helped the nation expand access to vote by mail for all, which meant that the American people could have their voices heard even in the middle of a global pandemic. Democracy survived, it endured, only to be followed by the insurrection incited by Donald Trump and his attempts to steal the presidency in 2020. He lost. The insurrection did not succeed. Democracy endured again. Then in 2022, when many of us thought, okay, we're getting out of this dark era, we saw extremist election deniers run for Secretary of State in nearly every swing state in the country. Imagine going into this year's presidential election with an election denier who does not believe in the right to vote in free and fair elections overseeing battleground states. I was so proud to lead the effort as chairwoman of the Democratic Association of Secretaries of State to stop them. We stopped election deniers from overseeing statewide elections in Michigan, Minnesota, Wisconsin, New Mexico, Arizona, and Nevada, because the American people, not crooked politicians, should be the ones having their voices heard this election cycle. Democracy endured, but our fight is not over. There have been hundreds of bills introduced to suppress the vote nationwide, and insurrectionists walk the halls of Congress. And you all know Donald Trump, who tried to steal a presidential election from the American people, is now the Republican nominee for president. Trump is a threat to the right to vote, democracy, and the stability of this country. All of our fundamental rights are at risk. In this country right now, women are being made into second-class citizens. Extremist elected officials are banning abortion access, putting women's life at risk, and even trying to throw women and doctors into jail. We cannot allow this extremism to take us back decades. Abortion care is health care, and we must protect it. We also cannot stand by and let this country become a place where parents are afraid to send their little kids to school, where you have to look over your shoulder while grocery shopping and hope for the best. That's why we need an assault weapons ban right now in the state of Colorado. We should not be waiting for the federal government to get this done. And we must urgently take action on the climate crisis by investing in a clean energy future that creates good paying union jobs and ensures future generations from all communities have clean air and water. That means addressing corporate greed and the record levels of inequality. Everyone should have to pay their fair share, and every American deserves the opportunity to earn a living, a right to collective bargaining, and to provide for our families. There's so much work to be done, but we are winning. Just like we defeated extremists in 2018, 2020, and 2022, we must do it again. And now, on top of that, folks have been asking me, well, what about Lauren Boebert? What I say, if Lauren Boebert is threatening me with a recall election, I say bring it on. I'm excited to get to work with all of you. I'm excited to save our democracy yet again. And thank you all for being such great leaders in our community. Thank you. And thank you, James.
Thank you so much, Secretary Griswold. It's an honor to have you. All right. Let's get on with the agenda. So the next thing we need to do is, as you know, many of you know, the Denver County Assembly is also the Judicial District 2 Assembly, as Denver County and the 2nd Judicial District have the same boundaries. In some counties, they have to have a separate assembly for the Judicial District. Fortunately for us, we can do this in a much more efficient manner. So what I have to do, first of all, is ask for a motion to recess the Denver County Assembly and Convention, and then I'll need to call the JD2 Assembly to order as a procedural formality. Before I do that, I see a couple of hands up. Seth Foldy, you're recognized.
I didn't realize I was up, but I second.
Oh, well, the motion, hold on, I didn't ask for the motion yet. I was explaining the process, but thank you. Brady Klein, you have your hand up.
I so move.
Thank you so much. So there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Seth Foldy seconds.
Seth Foldy, second. Thank you. So the motion on the floor is to recess the, okay, if you're, here's some chatter, mute. Thank you. So the motion on the floor is to recess. Okay, I need some mute. Okay. Okay, so the motion on the floor is to recess the Denver Assembly and Convention. Can I have a vote? Use your reactions with the check marks. And let's take the hands down because right now we are voting on a motion that's on the floor. Please take your hands down. Okay, so I see hands up, so it is not in order to recognize anybody right now as we're taking a vote. Remember to use check marks, not hands. It looks like we're slowing down, so it looks like about 448, 4 and 2 against. Now, we need to take votes for proxies, so please clear the reactions. If we could clear the reactions. Okay, so proxy holders now vote. So please lower hands. Discussion is not in order at this time. I see 3 hands up. Please lower hands. Discussion is not in order at this time. Check marks or X's, please.
James, I had my.
So discussion is not in order at this time. Please lower hands.
Point of information.
Yes. You're
I
recognized
had
for
my
that.
hand raised because I voted as a proxy on the last one, so I didn't vote on this one.
Okay, so that's fine. We just need to get to a valid count. Thank you so much, Jackie. And to clarify, points of order, the points of information are always in order, but not discussion at this point.
Point of order.
Yes.
Are motions and seconds within the chat valid, or do they have to be verbal?
I'm going to say that they need to be verbal. So raise your hand and be recognized. We're going to be a little formal here because we do want to take accurate minutes. So please raise your hand and be recognized so that the secretary can record who made the motion and who made the second. Yeah, good question. Thank you for asking. All right, I see hands up. Are those points of order, points of clarification? So Leslie Ginsburg, do you have a point of order or a question? Okay. So it looks like we have 54 votes for proxies. So with that, the motion passes and the Denver Assembly and Convention is recessed. I will now call the Judicial District 2 Assembly to order, same body. Now, the purpose of this meeting is to designate candidates for district attorney for the 2nd Judicial District, which is Denver. Currently, we have 3 candidates for district attorney, and they will be recognized each for 5 minutes, including their nominations and seconds. So I've received letters of intent from 3 candidates, Leora Joseph, Lissy Owen, and John Walsh. Leora Joseph submitted her letter of request on January 28th. Lissy Owen submitted her letter of intent on February 2nd, and John Walsh submitted his letter of intent on February 15th. And so that'll be the speaking order. After the candidates speak, we will then take a vote. Now, the vote for this one is to actually put the candidates in designation, that is, put them on the ballot. So the process here is a little different than what we just did for CU Regions. So let me explain what happens here. So according to statute, we need to, in order for a candidate to earn designation from an assembly, they need to earn 30% of the vote of the assembly. If the candidate fails to get 30% of the vote, but gets over 10% of the votes, they may still petition onto the ballot. If a candidate gets less than 10% of the vote, then they are eliminated altogether from the process. And so what we're doing is we're putting candidates on the ballot for the June 25th primary. So do not confuse that primary with the presidential primary that we just finished last week. So there are two primaries in Colorado, as you know, during presidential years. We have the presidential primary, which we just did, and then we have the more general Democratic primary coming up in June. So the purpose of this is to put those candidates on the ballot. So those are the options. So those are the three candidates who have put themselves in nomination. Before we proceed, I need to ask, are there any other nominations for candidates for district attorney? Are there any? So I see, let's clear the reactions if we could. Are there any other nominations for district attorney? I will ask a third time. Are there any other nominations for district attorney? Having asked 3 times and hearing none, nominations are closed. So right now we have on the floor nominations for Leora Joseph, Lissy Owen, and John Walsh. They will now be recognized for 5 minutes each, including speeches from nominators and seconders. It'll be up to the candidates to control the time. So first I will recognize Leora Joseph's nominator. And then after that, the seconder will be recognized, and then Leora Joseph herself for a total of 5 minutes. Leora. So Leora, if you would, give me your nominator on, and then we can get started.
My first nominator is Senator Chris Hansen.
Good afternoon, Denver Democrats. It's my great honor to join my friend and colleague, Senator James Coleman, in nominating Leora Joseph for Denver District Attorney. I believe she is a highly qualified candidate with a lifetime of public service. She didn't go the corporate route. She has been in public service her entire life, doing the important work. And it's that preparation that I think makes her the best candidate to be our next Denver District Attorney. She's an active member of the Denver Dems, serving as an officer in HD9. She has been the only candidate to have worked and led in a district attorney's office and has done that work pretty much her entire career. My colleagues and I now see her at the Capitol fighting to transform the important connection between mental health and public safety. She stands for the change, and that's exactly what Denver needs. Her prosecutorial success, the depth and diversity of her commitment to Denver throughout her career of service is unrivaled. I believe her bold leadership, her real experience, and her fearlessness is exactly what Denver needs right now. She's strong and compassionate, and she can make Denver safer for our entire community. And I urge your support of Leora Joseph. And now over to Senator James Coleman.
Thank you so much, Senator Hansen. Good afternoon again, Denver Democrats. Excited to be able to nominate the nomination for Leora Joseph for Denver District Attorney. Leora has been an active advocate for community-based justice, which is very important here in our city. Leora is the only candidate with actual district attorney experience. She's worked for over 25 years in DA offices handling the hardest cases. She understands community justice and sensitive victim cases. She is committed to restoring public safety and has a real plan to include community in decision making around justice issues. I truly believe, along with Senator Hansen and many others, that she's the leader we need for change in our city. Thank you so much, Leora, for running. We'll pass it over to you.
Good afternoon, Denver Dems. It is so amazing to be here together in service. And thank you, Senators Hansen and Coleman, mentors and friends. It is humbling to be here before you as a career public servant seeking ballot access We are at a pivotal time in our city with daily instances of gun violence, the plague of fentanyl distribution, and pervasive instances of auto theft. Some days, this doesn't feel like the city I raised my kids in. But I know we can do better. The district attorney holds the tools to fix what is broken. And I know that because for 25 years, I have worked in district attorney offices. I have managed teams and led in district attorney's office and taken on the hardest cases, made bold changes like starting one of the country's first human trafficking units. We need new approaches in gun violence like a buyback program, and we need to enforce the laws we have on gun crimes, fentanyl distribution, and auto theft. As your next DA, I will make sure we are enforcing the laws, and we also need to own what hasn't been working. We need new ideas and new leadership to turn our city around. In the work I'm doing now, for Governor Polis running an 1,800-person office connecting criminal justice system with mental health treatment, I have learned what a local district attorney can do to fix what is broken. I will work across the safety spectrum to create real pathways to treatment for people with mental illness and addiction, to stop the revolving door of jail to the streets and back, creating a humane approach to stop recidivism and stop ignoring the problem. Uplifting human dignity is part of public safety. And we have another challenge. People have stopped believing in the justice system, not the victims, not the community, not the police, even judges. And that's why I plan to implement community prosecution, connecting prosecutors with community leaders in schools and neighborhoods, because justice doesn't live in a courtroom. It lives here with all of us. I entered this race because I have the experience and the plan to make the district attorney's office work for this city. I am inspired by all of you. I am grateful for all of you. Denver, join me in this action for change. By now, you all have my cell phone number. Let's continue to talk over these next months. Together, we can make Denver safer for everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Leora. And thank you so much, Senator Hansen and Senator Coleman. All right. The next candidate who we will be hearing from and nominators and seconders is Lissy Owen. Lissy, are you ready for your nominator and seconder and yourself?
Thank you, James. Yes, I am. My nominator and seconder are Beth Huffer and Betsy McConnell, who I believe are together, actually.
We are indeed. Hi, everyone. I'm Beth Huffer. I am Lacey Owen's mother, and I am beyond proud to nominate her for the candidacy of the Office of District Attorney.
Hello, everybody. I'm Betsy McConnell. I'm Lacey's grandmother and very proud to be the one to second the nomination for her candidacy for district attorney.
Thank you.
Over to you, Lise.
My name is Lacey Owen. I'm the daughter and granddaughter of the two women you just met. I am a mom to two kids, Aston, age 7, and Vivi, age 4. A little over a week ago, I spoke to caucus goers in my home district of HD 8. While I was speaking, I looked over and I saw my son silently cheering me on, pumping his fists in the air. I did manage to swallow the lump in my throat and finish my remarks. But that moment, that image of my son seeing his mom compete and take up space in a place and a race that frankly doesn't always feel like it was designed for me, is a moment that will forever be burned into my memory. In the time since then, I hope all of you got to hear me say in some format or another, I am a civil rights lawyer. For me, that has mostly meant representing people in prison when they experience horrific traumas like rape, torture, assault, denial of medical care, and even death. I came to that work as a law student when I represented prisoners in solitary confinement at the federal Supermax prison in Florence, Colorado. When I graduated law school, I started and led a nonprofit called the Colorado Prison Law Project, where I did every single job. I led a board of directors and answered thousands of prisoner letters. I traveled hundreds of miles a week to meet with clients in prisons around the state, and I argued cases in the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals. I coordinated pro bono counsel relationships with Denver's top law firms and chaired the committee that trains lawyers to handle pro bono cases in federal court. I did all my own paralegal work, staying up late to read court rules in detail to make sure that the margins in my legal briefs were the right size. I spent countless hours on the phone with moms and wives and daughters and sisters who were worried about their people in prison. Meanwhile, to pay the bills, I became a well-recognized insurance coverage lawyer who represented people when their insurance companies wouldn't pay, eventually leading the complex and appellate litigation practice of a high-volume Denver firm. As a civil rights lawyer, I stand on the shoulders of giants. My personal civil rights lawyer hero is a man named Bill Kunstler, not just because he was an extraordinary lawyer, but because he exemplifies to me what it means to be a white ally in a fight that is fundamentally about making amends for a legal system built on the idea that it is acceptable for one race and class of people to own another race and class of people. Bill was a Westchester County general practice lawyer raising a family when he got a call to travel to meet with the Freedom Riders. The director of the ACLU asked Bill to send his regards while he was down south. When Bill arrived, the Black community leaders on the ground said, "We don't need regards, we need lawyers." And Bill stayed. He spent the rest of his life fighting shoulder to shoulder with the people who needed his help. As I've matured in my career, I've come to recognize that adversarial relationships, like the ones between two sets of lawyers representing two adverse parties in a court case, are not a long-term solution to structural injustice in this country. The reality is that every single one of us is a client that the Denver District Attorney's Office represents, the people of the state of Colorado. And that means that we need a leader in the office who understands and has experience with the broad range of perspectives that the DA's office is obligated to represent, and who can solve problems, not make them. That leader is me. Delegates, thank you for your committed participation in this democratic process. Here's what I'm asking of you today. Let the people decide who will represent us in the Denver District Attorney's Office for the next 4 years. Your vote for me will make sure that all three of us are on the ballot. This is how you can exercise your power and your privilege as a delegate to ensure Denver continues to make history in moving away from harmful and ineffective criminal law and policy of the past and toward one justice system that treats everyone equally, no matter who they are, who they know, or how much money they have. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Lissy. Thank you, Beth and Betsy. I assume that was your son back there, right?
Yep.
Thank you so much. All right. The next candidate we will hear from is John Walsh. John, are you ready with your nominator and seconder?
Yes, I am. I would like to recognize Debbie Ortega as my nominator.
All right.
Good afternoon, Denver Dems. I, Deborah Ortega, nominate my longtime friend, John Walsh, and ask for your support of him for district attorney in the 2nd Judicial District.
And James, I'd like to recognize or have you recognize the seconder, Kadisha Higgs.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Denver Dems. Contrary to my character, I shall be short and sweet. I am seconding the nomination of my good friend, John Walsh. I want to say that there can be no new ideas with old DAs. We need a fresh, qualified district attorney who is committed to equity, regardless of affluence, influence, race, or gender. You will find that in John Walsh. Please join me in nominating him.
Thank you so much, Debbie and Kadisha, and good afternoon, Denver Democrats. I'm John Walsh, and I'm running to be your next Denver District Attorney. The Denver DA must be a DA for the people of Denver, all of them, and that's the Denver DA that I'm running to be. At President Obama's first meeting with me and other U.S. attorneys that he had chosen from around the country, he told us, remember always, you're not my U.S. attorneys. You are U.S. attorneys for the people and for the United States. And those words have lived with me ever since. And to me, being a DA for the people means listening to the people. I've spent months talking to Denverites from Green Valley Ranch to Bear Valley to West Highlands, from West Highlands to Southmore. And I've called, texted, and spoken to so many of you who are here today. And you've poured out your frustrations. From the young man who confided in me the struggles he had faced to get out from substance abuse and addiction, to the high school dean that I sat with, who had been shot and injured by a troubled young person at East High School, the same school my own kids had gone to, whose physical wounds had healed, but whose mental scars will take much longer to fade. To the business owner who angrily described to me how his car had been stolen 3 times in 2 months and twice by the same person. And also to the many people of color who have expressed their concern to me that their sons and daughters will be harmed by a criminal justice system that has failed to earn their trust. You've poured out those frustrations. And yet I've also heard the strength, the hope, and the resilience of the people of Denver. From the former gang members working hard every day to offer young people alternatives to violence and who respond night after night to shootings to break the cycle of violence. To the business and community leaders who are building up our communities and our neighborhoods and taking steps to prevent crime. To the substance abuse and mental health counselors who work so patiently with people who are struggling to defeat fentanyl addiction and who are struggling with their mental health. Y también a la gente hispanohablante de esta gran ciudad, trabajadores y luchadores para su gente y para la justicia, a pesar del hecho de que nuestro sistema muchas veces los olvida. And yes, to the dedicated people of the Denver DA's office who work through the day and often through the night to protect the city and the people who live here. Anyone who places a bet against the people of Denver is placing a losing bet. I know that because this is my hometown. I've devoted a personal and professional lifetime to this city. I love Denver, and like many of you, I'm so proud to be a Denverite. I've stood in front of juries as a prosecutor, and I've also stood with clients facing criminal charges
1 minute.
on my side. I've led and energized prosecutors and lawyers my entire career, and I've worked for decades in all the many communities of Denver, in nonprofits, in neighborhood organizations, and as a pro bono volunteer lawyer helping those who could not afford to pay. Those broad experiences have taught me that the Denver DA must bring a combined strategy to protecting the people of our city. Yes, effective and firm enforcement of the law, and also an aggressive strategy of community outreach, of engagement, and of prevention programs. Now, you've seen my concrete plans in the letters that I've sent to you all this week on violent crime, on the fentanyl epidemic, on car theft, how we must support, hear, and help victims, on justice reform and police accountability. 5 minutes is far too short a time to talk through them all. What you have, though, is my commitment that I will ensure that the Denver DA's office approaches every case with justice and equity so that every person enjoys the equal protection of the law. Now, on the wall above my desk while I was U.S. attorney, I take the quote. I'm sorry?
We're at time.
All right. Let me just end by saying this. I can still hear President Obama's wise counsel to be the DA.
Don, I got to cut you off. We're at time. Sorry. I got to be
All
fair
right.
to.
All right. Fair enough. Thank you. I would love to have your support today. I would be honored.
All right. Thank you so much. Oh, let me unmute. Sorry. Thank you so much, John. And I want to thank Debbie Ortega and Kadisha Haynes as well. It was good seeing you all. All right. So that concludes the addresses by the candidates for DA. What we're going to go ahead and do now is we're going to post a ballot. This is the ballot that'll actually put these candidates in designation. So remember, in order for a candidate to achieve designation, they need to earn 30% of the vote. If nobody gets 30% of the vote in the first round, we will go to a second round, and whoever gets 30%, the top 2 vote getters in that second round will then earn designation. So that's how that works. And again, just to remind you, if somebody does not get 30%, on the first round, then they can petition if they're over 10%. And if they don't earn 10%, they are eliminated from the race. So we'll go ahead and post that ballot in the chat now, just like we did before. You will vote on that. If you are a proxy, you will vote twice, and make sure you indicate on that second vote that this is a proxy vote and not your own vote. So this is a recorded vote. And your names will be logged in those ballots. So please go ahead and vote. We're going to take a few minutes for that. In the meantime, I would love to give the floor to our treasurer, Beth Turner, for the pass the bucket. Now, this is the part of the meeting where if we were all together, we would be passing buckets around the room. And I want to thank the folks who joined. Oh, someone's unmuting. I want to thank the folks who have joined a Century Club. And if you're already a Century Club member, if you could give an additional donation today to support this event and the other events of the party. So I'm going to give it to Beth Turner, our treasurer. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Beth. Okay. Hi, everyone. This is Beth Turner, your county treasurer. And I just wanted to remind you all that, I wanted to remind you that the Democratic Party of Denver is solely responsible for funding all the grassroots efforts of the party in Denver, including today's assembly. And also that we have lots of expenses to cover related to assembly, and that all of our donations come from you. So we don't receive money from the state party or the national party or anywhere else. We just receive it from you. So please be as generous as you can. And you've seen on your screen the link to donate online, and there's also a QR code there. And thank you so much for all that you do. You guys have been great in supporting us for many, many years, and we definitely appreciate that.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Beth. So we'll go ahead and give you a few more minutes to continue to vote.
James, you're muted.
I'm muted. Sorry, thank you. So yeah, so we'll go and give you a few more minutes to continue voting for DA.
I'm trying to figure out.
So just stand by. We'll continue to look at that.
I'm trying to figure out where to go vote at.
There's a link in the chat. That is how you vote if you're having technical issues.
I'm at the chat, but it's just it just says Democratic Party of Denver County Assembly, and that's it. And
all right. I don't know who this is speaking because you don't have your hand raised. Can you please tell me what your name is and your phone number, and we'll have someone call you.
Okay, Laverne Hillick-Hughes.
Thank you. All right, Laverne, and what's the best number to reach you?
Okay, 303-241-6902.
All right, someone will call you in just a second. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Can someone call Laverne for me, please? She can't figure out how to vote.
So remember, you should only vote if you elected a delegate.
Where is the ballot again? I can't find the ballot.
So please don't vote if you were not elected at caucus. It makes our credentials committees work a lot easier because they will have to strike those votes when they do the audit of the vote. So only delegates should be voting, and proxy holders, of course.
If you have questions, please make sure you raise your hand so we know who has this question, and then we can address you. Andrea. Yeah. Correct. So you just don't vote then. I put that in the chat already.
Oh, you can go.
So I've got a few questions as to why there isn't an uncommitted option on this ballot. So this is the ballot of designation. If you don't want to vote in this, you don't have to. You can refrain if you are not committed to either candidate. This is unlike a preference poll to elect delegates where uncommitted is an option. In other words, think of it this way. This is kind of the end of the line for the DA candidates. This is where we're actually putting them on the ballot. We're not doing that for the CU region. We're not doing that for the congressional candidates at this meeting. We're electing delegates to do that at a future meeting. So on that option, we have to put uncommitted as an option. So you do not see uncommitted on this ballot because this is the end of the line. This is the actual designation vote.
All right, let's see, Francetti, I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name. I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself. Go ahead. What is your question?
Thank you. My question is, when both of my ballots have come up, oops, sorry about that. I'm on
It's
Mac.
all right.
I didn't mean to
Great.
do that. The question that I have is, do I have to go to Google to vote or to have it submitted and
No.
also, oh, good. Okay. And then the other question is it says Eventbrite, as though, is this going to be something Eventbrite gets to put on their database?
No, we just need to use the exact, you need to use the exact same email you use to register on Eventbrite when you're voting. That's what we mean by that. And no, you don't have to be logged into Google. We're using Google Forms, so it automatically puts that on there and recognizes you, but you don't need to be in Google. So as long as you just fill out those things, you're fine. You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Jeff. Oops, Jeff.
Yes, thank you. There are a number of tiny URL links going to a CU region ballot, and I've tried, I think, every one of them, and it just takes me to a screen that says it's the ballot, but it doesn't open.
Okay, we should be going to the DA ballot, which I just put in the chat now. And are you still in the building, Jeff?
Yes.
Someone will come help you.
Thank you.
Once we are done with voting, we will put the donation link back into the chat, but for right now, please just use what's on the screen and type it in yourself, but the link for the donation we will put in once we are done.
Well, that's going to work fine. Welcome to my refrigerator. Just
We are going to give everyone a 1-minute warning until we close the vote on this. We appreciate your patience. We are going to have to verify votes before we can make an announcement. So it's going to give us take us a few more minutes, but we have one more piece of business that James will do, but 1 minute until closing the vote.
Y'all, would somebody check the waiting room?
Tom. Okay, you can always unplug and listen to it while you clean the room. Okay. All right.
All right. Ballot is
It's 1:15.
closed.
By 1:45, I want to see.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Wait, you're muted because someone just.
We will announce those results here shortly, and I want you to note that these are preliminary results. The Credentials Committee still needs to go through and ensure that only delegates and proxies voted, and not so that more thorough process will happen after this meeting. But we will share preliminary results here shortly. Before we do that, just to give folks the Credentials Committee a little bit more time. One other piece of business that we have to do is designate a vacancy committee for the second district. Now, let me explain, because this can be a little confusing. So there are 2 vacancy committees that exist for each district. And this applies to the House districts, and this applies to the Senate districts as well. So when we have reorg, which we have in February of odd numbered years, we create a vacancy committee in office. So the purpose of that vacancy committee, and this is the type of vacancy committee you're probably more familiar with, that fills vacancies when a person in office can no longer serve, right? And creates a vacancy. So that vacancy committee does that. We, again, create that vacancy or designate that vacancy committee at the reorg in the odd numbered years. However, at Assembly, we have to do a second kind of vacancy committee, which is known as a vacancy committee in nomination. So this vacancy committee simply exists until November, and its purpose is to fill or to put another candidate on the ballot should something happen to our nominee, or if our nominee withdraws from the race or something like that. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to create a vacancy committee in nomination. So should something happen between June and November to our candidate, that committee will meet and then vote for a nominee. All right. So what I'd like to do is give me 1 second. Jerry, is there a question? Jerry Passmore. Jerry, you're recognized? Okay. Mark Fulford, you're recognized.
I'm sorry, I can't get the link to vote.
Oh, so the ballot is closed. Do you want to, can somebody call him? Can you put your phone number in the chat and somebody will call you? Mike Serbo, you're recognized. Mike. Okay. So Mark, you want to give us your phone number? Just maybe read it out. Okay, you got it. Okay, thank you. Someone will be in touch with you. Ann Murdoch,
Thank you, James.
you're recognized.
Thanks, James. I just wanted to alert you that Karen Schumacher has pointed out in the chat that she had a frozen computer and was not able to vote. And I was wondering if someone can please help her.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. Can somebody contact Karen Schumacher, please? Okay, we already have. Thank you.
Thank
Ann.
you so much.
All right. Very good. So what I will do now is I would like to entertain a motion to make the entire Denver Democratic Central Committee the vacancy committee in nomination for the second judicial district.
Leah Dean, so moved.
I never got to vote, period.
Chris
I
Hines,
gave them
second.
my phone number and
Chris
maybe they
Hines,
will call
okay,
me.
hold on,
and
hold on.
That
Hold on.
vote
Wait,
will then count, period.
Mute, please. All right. All right, man. Okay. Leah Dean has made the motion and Chris Hines has seconded the motion to make the Denver Democratic Central Committee the second judicial district vacancy committee and nomination. Is there any discussion? Diane Tipton, you're recognized. Diane Tipton?
Oh, James, I didn't get the ballot.
Okay, so can somebody contact Diane Tipton, please? If you could post your phone number in the chat, please, Diane. So we have a motion on the floor. The motion is to make the Denver Democratic Central Committee the second judicial district vacancy committee and nomination. That motion's on the floor. Unless you have a point of order or a question, we need to address that motion. Mike Serbo.
Oh, James, I got that. I didn't get my vote in for.
Okay, so Mike, that's out of order. If you could post in the chat.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. Micah Robert Hiron.
Yeah, Chair. If we're going to go ahead and have the whole Central Committee as this vacancy committee from now into June, what will that process be like?
Yeah, so we would, that's a good question. We would simply call a meeting of the Central Committee to elect somebody to fill that nomination vacancy. And that would be the sole order of business of that committee, just like the vacancy committee in office meets, be the same process.
And they would have to make quorum in that?
Absolutely, yes. Just like any meeting, the same rules would govern, party rules would govern. Correct. Yep, thank you. Paula Van Dusen. You're recognized.
That is a fantastic suggestion. What could be more democratic?
Thank you, Paula. So yes, Brady, so right now we're having discussion on the motion to create the Denver Democratic, to make the Denver Democratic Central Committee the vacancy committee and nomination for JD2. Brady Klein.
I move to table discussion and vote on the previous question.
Are you voting to call the question? Is that what you're doing, Brady?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, thank you. The question has been called.
I have a point of information.
Okay, so is there a point of order?
I have a point of information.
Yes, go ahead.
I would like to ask, I'm assuming that this motion is intended to be for the new POs that were just voted in earlier.
That is absolutely correct.
Okay, thank you.
That is correct. Thank you for asking that. Correct. Good question. All right, so the question has been called. We need to take a vote. Please clear all reactions. Take your hands down unless you have a point of order or point of clarification. And we will take a vote. The vote is to call the question.
Point of order, did we get a second?
Okay,
Second.
so I'm told by my parliamentarian that we need to have a second.
Let
me hold on, everybody. Let me give the floor to our rules chair, who's also our parliamentarian for this meeting, Kate Sneed, to clarify the process here. Go ahead, Kate.
Thank you. So the motion was for debate. Someone called the question and suggested closing debate. If we are going to do that, then we need to take a vote, 2/3 vote, to close debate and move on. If we do not get 2/3, then we have to keep it open for discussion. So you cannot move forward until a vote is taken. It has to be 2/3 of our quorum, and quorum is 245 of us, which 2/3 of that, I will figure out the number. But James, why don't you call?
Yeah, so right now we are voting on the motion to call the question on the nomination.
Point of order.
So please take your hands down unless you have a question or point of order, and use the checkbox or the X's to vote, please.
Point of order, does there have to be a second?
Nita Lynch, do you have a point of order or a question?
Yes. Does there have to be a second?
Point of order. Point of order, I have a question.
Okay, so the way you want to vote, just to make sure we got questions here. You want to use the check marks or the X's. That's how we vote on a motion.
I have my hand raised. I have a point of order.
And Adrian Felix seconded the motion. I don't know if that was heard.
Can anyone hear me?
So we did have a motion and a second, a call the question and a second on that motion. We are voting to call the question.
I have a question. I'm honestly just not sure what we're voting on. My hand is up,
Do you have a point of order?
no one's recognized.
Yeah, can you hear me? I do have a point of order.
Amanda Grosiak? I hope I'm saying your name correctly.
Yes, I have a point of order. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Hi, I'm wondering if we don't pass this, what happens?
So there's a statutory definition of the central committee, which is more limited in scope. Per statute, the vacancy committee in nomination is simply all of the POs or PCPs, as they're still called in statutes, and the officers of the central committee of the judicial district, which is myself as chair of the judicial district, the first vice chair of Denver, which is the vice chair of the judicial district, and the secretary of the Denver County is the secretary of the judicial district. So it's much more limited in scope. Just to talk to this real quick, the Denver Democratic Central Committee has a wider scope that includes all of the people that I mentioned, but it also includes all of our captains and all elected officials in Denver, including people like city council members, and others who would not normally be included in that definition.
And another point of order, is there a way to pose a question vote to everyone here to have an election instead of a nominating committee, as that would be way more democratic, and we have one of the highest unelected official rates in our state legislature in the nation?
So the question has been called on the nomination. I mean, sorry, on the motion. So we need to complete that. Roberta, did you have a question?
Yeah, honestly, just with everything back and forth, I got a little confused. Can we clarify what this current vote is about again?
So what we're doing is we're designating a vacancy committee in nomination for the second judicial district. That's for the DA. So if for whatever reason, the nominee of the party for district attorney is unable to continue as the nominee before the November election, then this central committee will meet to put forth another candidate to be the party's nominee for the November election.
Okay, thank you for that. And the people that would become that nominating committee would be the central committee. And who does that include again?
So the Denver Democratic Central Committee is primarily composed of the precinct organizers, or PCPs, precinct committee people as they're known in statute. all of the captains, co-captains, finance chairs of Denver County Dems, of all of the officers of Denver County Dems. And then it also includes all of the Democratic elected officials in Denver, including municipal office holders such as the mayor, members of Congress, etc. So it expands what the normal statutory definition of the Central Committee would be.
Okay, thank you. And that committee would only meet and vote to make a nomination in the
Right.
event that whoever's nominated here is unable to fulfill that obligation.
That is correct. Mhm. You would
Okay,
have to call a
thank you.
special meeting to make that, get that to happen.
Settle down.
Well, there's many
So we have
clarifying
enough votes.
questions.
Okay, hold on, please.
I
Okay,
have a point of
hold
order.
on. Please,
There's
hold on, please.
conflating between the two motions.
The motion on the floor right now is to call the question
Right.
on the motion to make the Denver Democratic Central Committee the vacancy committee and nomination for the second judicial district. That motion is on the floor. The question has been called and the vote is passed. So do we? Okay, so the question has been called. Discussion on this motion is closed. So now let's clear the reactions, please. And we will now take a vote to approve the original motion. And again, what you're voting for now is the motion the motion is to create or to make, sorry, the Denver Democratic Central Committee, the vacancy committee in nomination for the second judicial district. That is the motion that you are now voting on. Lance, did you have a point of order or a question? Lance Wieland?
Sorry, no, I don't.
Okay, so Lance, just use the check mark if you were voting, or the X.
I did.
Tracy Winchester, did you have a
Hi
question
there,
or a point
James,
of
just
order?
want to, yes, thank you. Just want to make sure, did we get a second on that motion?
Yes. So the motion to call the question, we did. Adrian Felix made the second.
I'm talking about the motion we're voting on now.
Yes, we did get a second. Who made the
Thank
second
you.
on the original motion? We did get a second on it because then we moved to discussion. It was Leah and
Chris Hines.
Chris Hines. That's right. I'm sorry, Chris. So that's right. So we did get a second on that. Lamone Knowles, I hope I'm saying your name correctly. You're recognized. Do you have a question or a point of order?
No, I was looking for the green check.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Diane Tipton, do you have a point of order or a question?
I'm trying to find the ballot to vote for.
There's not a ballot on this. You're using the reactions in Zoom. There's a check
okay.
mark or a circle with an X in it.
Right.
That's how we're voting.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Of course, no problem. Jackie Boyard, do you have a question or a point of order?
Question. I was kicked out of the meeting and I rejoined. I don't know what's going on.
I don't know if anybody kicked you out. Maybe there's a, tech glitch.
It was a connection.
What
It was a
happened?
connection.
Okay. Well, you're back in. I'm glad you made it back in, Jackie. Good to see you.
So what am I voting on?
Oh, okay. There's your question. Yeah.
Yes, it's a question. What are
Okay,
we
so
voting on?
we already have sufficient votes to call it. The motion, so the motion was to create a vacancy committee for the second judicial district, and the members of that vacancy committee are the members of the Denver Democratic Central Committee. So all right, so the motion passes. The Denver Democratic Central Committee has been designated as the vacancy committee in nomination for the second judicial district. Okay, so it's 385 to 6. Susan Rogers, please, did you have a question or go ahead?
No, I just wanted to remind you to call for the proxies votes.
Oh yeah, let's do that. I'm sorry. Thank you so much, Susan. So let's clear this. So so we had that number. Now let's clear the reactions and let's have the proxies vote. And that'll give us our final number. All right, looks like it's hovering about 36, so we'll call it at now 37. So 38 proxies have voted in favor. So the resolution passes. All right. We're moving along. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go, so we're still assembled as the Second Judicial District Assembly currently. So I will give the floor to our credentials chair, Mary Geisinger, to report the preliminary results of the designation vote for Denver District Attorney. Mary, the floor is yours.
All right, hi, everyone. These are preliminary results. We're going to present on the screen in just a moment here. The credentials team will go through the votes. We'll make sure that we've got delegates. I'm waiting for the slide to be shown.
I'm doing it, guys. Okay.
Sorry for the pause, just waiting for that slide to show. Thank you, everyone, for being patient. Again, these are preliminary results. The credentials team will take the next 2 days to verify all the results. All right, here we go. All right, so as of now, these preliminary results, we've got Lacey Owen with 25%, John Walsh with 37.1%, and Leora Joseph with 37.9%. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much. And again, these are preliminary results. The credentials committee still needs to go through and calculate the final results. So this is preliminary. So John Walsh, based on this result, John Walsh and Leora Joseph have earned designation. All right, thank you very much. So that concludes the business of the Second Judicial District. So what we're going to do now, this is not the end of the meeting. So I want to be very clear. I'm going to ask to adjourn the Second Judicial District, but don't go away because we're still going to reconvene as the Denver Assembly and Convention. So is there a motion to adjourn the Second Judicial District Assembly?
So moved, Sloan Irwin.
All right, Jackie Annunziata, are you making that motion? Please unmute and speak when you're recognized. Jackie Annunziata, are you making that motion?
Yes, so moved. Sorry, couldn't unmute.
Okay, thank you. Jackie has made that. Is there a second? Autumn Patterson, I'm sorry.
Autumn Patterson, precinct 311, second.
Second, thank you. So then the motion to adjourn has been made and seconded. All in favor, let's vote. Again, using your reactions. Okay, so remember to use do not use the hand raise, use the check marks and the X's. Nora Hawkes, did you have a question or a point of order?
No, sorry, wrong reaction.
Okay, go ahead and take your hand down and then use the right one. Thank you so much. Roger Armstrong, do you have a question or point of order?
No, I made a mistake and raised my hand.
Okay, use the circle with the X or the circle with a check.
James, you're muted.
All right, 392, let's clear the reactions. Proxies vote now, please. Sloan Irwin, did you have a question or point of order?
A point of order. I've received two different instructions for how motions and seconding works. Previously, you said we had to use the hand raise feature, and then the immediate vote after that, you did not use that. You just used people that unmuted themselves and said their vote. I clarified that in chat. Kate said not to use the hand raises, and then this previous motion and second, you use the hand raises. So however we do it, I don't care. It just needs to be clarified so that people aren't throwing things all over the place and feeling not heard.
Doing a check mark.
Okay, so I just talked to Kate. The process will be, and going forward, please mute if you are not recognized. Raise your hand, be recognized, and you will make the motion. The reason we need to do it this way is our secretary needs to log who made the motion, who made the second, and then the result of the vote. So thank you for that clarification. That's the process going forward.
Oh, no.
Okay, please mute if you are not being recognized.
Oh, the platform committee is always.
Okay. All right, Jackie Boyard, did you have a question or point of order?
Yes, I've gone in to hit the check mark and I've checked 3 times and it doesn't show on the screen. And that was for
Okay.
delegate, not a proxy.
I'm not sure if you need tech support. I don't know if somebody can help you with that, but all right, so we have 39 proxies, so that concludes the vote. The motion passes. We are adjourned as the second judicial district. I will call the Denver Democratic Assembly back to order. All right, what I'd like to do, and I've been contacted by Chris Nicholson. Chris, if you're there, you would like to make a motion.
Yes, I am. And I appreciate you giving me the option, James. And sorry for the background. I was just showing my enthusiasm. I'm coming to you today to make a motion to suspend the rules to consider a resolution that affirms the Democratic Party's support for an elected board of RTD. The reason I'm coming to you with this motion.
Oh, we knew this was coming. Yeah, we knew this.
Okay, Pat Manning, please mute.
The reason I'm coming to you with this motion today is because under consideration right now in the legislature, as numerous members of the legislature who are here today can attest, is a measure that would remove control of RTD from the voters and take it back to a system where it was appointed by the governor and members of DRCOG. I'll get into more reasons why that's bad in a little bit, but suffice it to say, this is under discussion right now in the legislature. It is something they are seriously considering doing, and it would have severe negative impacts on Denver. There are members of the legislature and of the RTD board who are here today to speak on this resolution. And so I would really appreciate it if you could take the couple minutes to hear us out and take a vote.
All right, thank you, Chris. So the motion that Chris has made is to suspend the rules to entertain the motion. So because this was not on the agenda, we need to suspend the rules, and the rule suspension requires the vote of 2/3 voting and present to suspend the rules. Once the rules are suspended, then we can entertain the actual motion that Chris is presenting. So first,
right now? Okay.
So do I have a second to suspend?
I have a second. Jeff Withers.
Jeff Withers.
Thank you, Jeff.
So what we need to do is, let's follow the rules. We just clarified the process here. Please raise your hand and be recognized. So the first one I see up at the top is Josh Diller. Josh, unmute, please.
Second.
Okay, Josh Diller seconds Chris's motion. So the motion has been made and seconded. All right, so now is there discussion? And the discussion to be is not on the motion that Chris is not on the resolution but on suspending the rules. Quan Atlas, you're recognized.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
So I just wanted to say that I don't think we should do this right now. People were not prepped for this motion.
So Quan,
I ask that we vote against this
Okay.
motion and that we move on.
all right.
Can I speak, please?
Yes, so I'm going to go ahead and give it to our parliamentarian and rules chair, Kate Steed.
I really need people to pay attention, or we're going to have to start just take away unmuting on your own. This is Robert. We're following Robert's rules. The motion and the second have been made to suspend the rules. The debate right now is around if we should suspend the rules, not about if you agree with what the motion has been made, what not if you agree with what the resolution is going to be about. This is strictly around taking a vote. So please put your hands down.
All right.
Unless you have a point of, and mute yourself, please, unless you have a question or a debate on around how we are going to take a vote to suspend the rules. That doesn't mean you're for or against this. This strictly just means, are we going to take a vote?
Yeah, and I don't agree that we should
Your hands down.
and I don't agree that we should suspend the rules at this time for discussion on it.
Okay, that's
Okay.
all I can say then.
All right, thank you, Quan. Adam Fierst, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right.
Yes, correct. So this is maybe about the issue, but also about the vote. What purpose does this discussion have for
So-
us now? So
Right.
the
So
question is,
what we're
so
doing-
I'm essentially asking, why should we vote on this?
Okay, so no, what we want to do is basically this motion was not on the agenda. We're voting to modify the agenda essentially to allow this resolution on the floor. So we cannot modify the agenda unless 2/3 of the body of those 2/3 of those voting and present approve modifying the agenda. That's essentially what we're doing by suspending the rules. So we are only talking about that and not the resolution itself.
So I understand that, but I have to know what value the discussion of this topic would be before I know how to vote on whether to suspend the rules.
So that's, so we cannot, so we're at this point, we're not discussing the actual resolution itself. That is out of order. Patrick Barkman, you're recognized. Patrick. All right, Josh Diller, you're recognized.
Thank you. I asked that we do move to suspend the rules. Obviously, if people feel that they don't have enough information, we will always have the ability to vote against this motion. But if it seems like something that we should at least be discussing.
So, all right. Let me, so you're voting in favor. Who's voting? Who would vote against who wants to speak against suspending the rules?
I do.
Okay. Michael. All right, Michael Hiron.
Yeah, I believe that the issue is important. So I know it's not on the agenda. So I would move that we go ahead and suspend the rules and go ahead and go forward with the motion and discussion.
Thank you, Michael. Spencer. Okay, please mute yourself. Okay, folks, please. It's already 1:48. I want you to be cognizant of time. Let's move through the meeting efficiently. Do not unmute yourself unless you are recognized. You may only speak if you've raised your hand and are recognized. So, Spencer Behringer.
Just a point of information, does suspending the rules open the door for more motions to be proposed?
No, it doesn't. It's only suspending the rules for this one resolution. That's a good question. Thank you for asking. Patrick Barkman. Okay, Senator Julia Gonzalez.
I move, I call the question on
Okay,
suspending the
Patrick,
rules.
call the question. Is there a second?
Second, Ayante Anderson, 808.
So Deontay Anderson has seconded the motion. So now we need to vote to close the question. Please clear the reactions. That requires 2/3 vote. All we're doing is voting to call the question on suspending the rules. And let's try to move efficiently, please, because I'm just looking at this clock and we don't want to be here all day. Okay, so the square check mark does not count. Thank you. Only raise your hand if you have a point of order or a question, please. Okay. We already have 2/3. We have sufficient vote to. So 206 to 135. Is that? Just 1 second, please.
Session ends. Tay, I think is now a. You are muted, James.
Okay, so it's 237 yes, 141 no. 237 yes, 141 no for delegates. Let's clear the reactions and now proxies vote. Proxies only, please. So the rules have been suspended. Thank you. Chris, do you want to present your motion now or your resolution?
Yes, I appreciate it, and I apologize for any background noise. So the point of this motion, and I understood some concern.
Point of order, Chairman.
Point of order, that the stated motion was that we were closing debate.
That's right.
Oh, sorry.
We didn't vote on the motion.
Oh, no, you're right. Thank you for that point of order. Correct. We were calling the question. Right. So now the question has been called, debate has been closed. So now we will vote to suspend the rules. Thank you very much for that clarification. So clear reactions, and we are now voting to suspend the rules. Sorry about that, Chris. I'm getting a little ahead of myself here. Amadeus.
Thank you for recognizing me. Could we, if I just want to ask my fellow Democrats, could we use a little bit more professionalism? This is my first time, and I'm very confused at what's going on. I'm following you, Mr. James Reyes, but it's very confusing when people are being rude to each other. Could we be a little bit more professional and polite, please?
Thank you, Amadeus, and that's certainly an appreciated suggestion. Let's be on our best behavior, of course, at all times. Thank you. Jackie Boyard, did you have a question or a point of order?
It's a question.
Go ahead.
Technical question. I keep going into reactions. I see everything.
Yes.
I click the check mark. Nothing shows up by my name.
I'm not sure. So Jackie, it's a little difficult for me to troubleshoot that for you. I'm not sure what's happening.
Okay.
I apologize. Okay, so 132 to 231. I'm giving you the numbers. 132 to 231. Oh, the first one is yes. 230, 130. So let's clear the reactions and now proxies vote.
Mhm.
The reactions have been cleared. Proxies are voting now. So 111 in favor, 26 opposed. 11 in favor, 20.
10 in favor, 27 against.
Okay, so 10 in favor, 29 opposed. They're doing the calculations and we will provide that in a second. So this is to suspend the rules. Okay, so we've already called the vote. I see people still voting. We're done. Our secretary, our rules chair and parliamentarian is calculating the votes right now. Danny Fisher, did you have something? Okay.
Yes. Quickly, when people are having difficulty, I want to acknowledge when they get it right. Jackie, your check mark was just working. So even if you can't see it, we can, you're good.
Okay.
And
good.
a request I should have asked at the beginning. A lot of us are pretty knowledgeable of grouped, but there's always people who aren't, and kind of speaking to Amadeus and being new. It would be great if presenters could avoid using acronyms and initialisms. Please say out everything, so it makes it a little bit easier for people to follow, especially if they're new to this stuff. Thank you.
Point well taken, Danny, especially that given delegates are not quite as typically involved as maybe precinct organizers and other people. So that's good feedback. Thank you very much. I'll keep that in mind going forward.
All right, so we had a total of 400 people present and voting. We need 2/3 of the vote, 2/3 of that group of people in order to suspend the rules. That would be a total of 264. We had 258 noes and 142 yeses, so the rules are not suspended, and so we cannot take up this resolution.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. So we'll move on with the agenda. All right, the next item on the agenda, well, actually, give me 1 second. Okay, so I'm going to give it to our credentials chair to report the results of the preference poll for CU region.
All right. So again, these are preliminary results. The credentials team will look through the votes over the next couple of days, make sure that we have everyone accounted for. Right now, we've got uncommitted at 4.8%, Elliot Hood at 43.3%, and Charles Johnson at 51.9%. Thanks.
All right, thank you very much. So these numbers will be used to report on, or sorry, the delegation, or sorry, the distribution, I apologize, of delegates to the state assembly, which we will do in the House District breakout. So the next item on the agenda is to conduct a preference poll for U.S. representative. And this preference poll will be used to allocate the delegates for the Congressional District 1 Assembly. So there are two candidates for Congressional District 1 who have sent letters of intent. Representative Diana DeGette, who sent her letter on 2/5, and then Chris Reidner, who sent his letter on 3/10. That second letter, of course, will require the approval of the Congressional District Assembly at that time, but we will allow both candidates to speak. And the candidates are recognized for 3 minutes each based on that order. I would like to hand the floor to Representative Diana DeGette.
Thank you so much, James. And thanks to all of the Denver Democrats for hanging with us. Democracy might be messy, as I have seen through sitting through numerous votes for speaker, but I will guarantee you it's worth it. Democracy is worth fighting for. I've been honored to serve you in the 1st Congressional District, and I'm asking today for your support as I run for another term. I work hard for Denver, and I'm effective in representing you. Even in the minority this Congress, it looks like I will probably pass 3 or 4 significant pieces of legislation on healthcare and on energy. And also I've continued getting money for the district through member-directed spending for the 3rd year in a row, even with Republican leadership in Congress, focusing on homelessness and infrastructure. And also my staff and I have handled thousands of constituent requests and needs every year. Even though I've been effective as your Congresswoman, we all know so much more needs to be done. As co-chair of the Congressional Pro-Choice Caucus, along with Congresswoman Barbara Lee from California, I am proud to fight for reproductive choice for everybody. And I will make sure that we pass Roe versus Wade as the law of the land, not just through the House, through the Senate and onto Joe Biden's desk, so that we have true equality in healthcare. As a senior member of the Energy and Commerce Committee, I'm going to continue to fight to pass my climate bill, which would take us to 0 emissions by 2050. Next Congress, when we get our gavels back, I'll be the chair of the Health Subcommittee. I'll be the senior healthcare policymaker in the House. My priorities will include $35 insulin for every American. It'll include lower prescription drug prices, and it'll include universal health care. As a key member of the Gun Violence Task Force, I will continue to fight for comprehensive gun safety legislation, including banning assault weapons and passing my bill, which would ban high-capacity magazines. So there's so much to be done, but we can do it together. I talked in my greeting about what we knew to re-elect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris to keep this country on a forward path. I'm asking for your support today. Get elected as a delegate to the 1st Congressional Assembly on April 11th. It'll be virtual. We'll make it easy and simple. Please stay involved. Please support me, and let's continue to fight together for justice for all. Thank you, James.
All right, thank you, Congresswoman. All right, now we will hear from Chris Reidner, who's also running for Congressional District 1. Chris, the floor is yours for 3 minutes.
Everybody hear me okay?
Yep, loud and clear.
Great. Thank you all so much. My name is Chris Reidner, and I am seeking ballot access on the June 25th Democratic primary ballot to the U.S. House of Representatives for Colorado's 1st Congressional District through the assembly process. Thanks so much for putting up with the digital gremlins today and any noise coming from my roommate's kids upstairs while I'm talking. The digital democracy is tedious, but it has been fun, and I think it is well worth it. I think it's so worth it to be able to get our democratic processes going like this. So thank you to everyone for this time, especially James and Susan and your volunteer teams working diligently to get me this time so late notice. Thank you, Mrs. DeGette, and all the rest of everyone who has spoken today, and all of your years of service. And I agree wholeheartedly with everything that you had said today. In my view, the Colorado spirit of democracy is alive, and it's not necessarily okay with contentment, but has a growth mindset, which is adaptable and willing to listen and learn for self-betterment. I know that my time today is low on priorities, and I agree it should be. So I don't want to take too much time telling you about me when you can learn about me and my policy ideas on my website at chrisrrepco.us. I am a systems scientist by trade, which basically means I look for working models to plug into systems to make them run more efficiently. I have listed about 30 ideas on my website, which all work together to address issues listed on the Denver Democrats website and this party platform. I think you all are well informed enough to see how the ideas can work together in a political ecological system to evolve into a properly functioning ecosystem, providing valuable ecosystem services. The only policy idea I would like to bring up is junk mail, and political junk mail more specifically, which I think addressing will actually help protect democracy and the first issue stated on this party's platform. As a voter, I feel separated from politicians during election season because of the campaign junk and for all the reasons.
1 minute.
And the political election junk clutters my bandwidth and makes me anxious, stresses me out about the whole election season. So much so that I almost become burned out and apathetic in practicing democracy. I think democracy would be protected if voters could opt out of campaign junk mail when we register to vote and not be alienated from our election cycle. Part of my campaign is I'm pledging to go junk free for as long as I can do so and advocate for voter opt-outs to try and protect democracy and give us more access to the most basic function of our democracy. I'm just asking for another, trying to give another choice and ask you for your support to keep this strand of democracy going for at least a few more weeks so I can talk to you some more. I haven't had much time to get out and campaign and reach out to you due to all kinds of stuff going on this last week, but mainly because I've got a full-time job and a side gig, and I have to draw my work-life balance. So, so thanks so much. I'm just asking for 15% on any preferential polls that y'all see me coming across.
All right. Thank you very much, Chris. Thank you for joining us today. So now what we'll do is, and I want to move as efficiently as possible, please, given the time. I don't want to keep everybody here all day. We are now going to take a preference poll for for Congressional District 1 representative. The ballot will be posted in the chat. And then click on that. We will take about 5 minutes to vote, please. Yeah, and please don't use chat. Try to minimize using of chat right now while we vote, because we want to keep that link towards the bottom of the page. So this is your recorded vote. So please keep that in mind. And please mute again if you are not speaking. We are not using the reactions for this vote. We are using a ballot. So check the chat for the link. It's a tiny URL. It's called CD1 ballot. Mary Geisinger has posted it. I see Sloan Irwin has posted it. Please vote using that ballot, and please mute if you are not speaking, if you've not been recognized.
I can't.
Where does it say ballot?
Yeah, and make sure only delegates cast ballots, only delegates and those carrying proxies. Again, like we did before, you will, if you're voting for yourself, you will indicate that on the ballot. If you're voting for a proxy, you indicate on the ballot. If you are a delegate who's carrying a proxy, then you get to vote twice, but make sure you make that that specific on the ballot that you cast.
I'm losing the bottom of my voting stuff.
Please raise your hand to be recognized. Okay, please raise your hand to be recognized. All right, Jennifer, I believe it's Deckman. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Yes. Do you only vote for this if you're in House District 1?
I'm glad. Yes, I am super glad you asked that. Congressional District 1, right? Well, yeah. That's right, because we do have 2 precincts in Denver that are in Congressional District 6. Thank you for bringing that up, Jennifer. Yes. So if you live in precincts 914 or 915, do not vote in this. You will do that in your HD9 breakout later. So thank you for bringing that up. Important point. So again, the question is, the threshold is 15% to earn any delegates. If a candidate does not earn 15% on this vote, they don't earn any delegates from this assembly. Okay. So make sure, yes. So we are not talking about House District 1, that is State House District 1. We are talking about Congressional District 1, which is most of Denver, except for 2 precincts. So keep that in mind, the distinction between House District 1 and Congressional District 1. The whole state of Colorado has 8 congressional districts. That's what we're talking about. Congress in Washington, D.C., not the legislature here in Denver. Jackie, did you have a question or point of order? Jackie Boyard?
Yes, I do. I don't know what the technical issue is with me, but I'm very dissatisfied with not being able to cast a vote.
Do you
I
see?
looked to the ballot thing in there. I clicked on that. Nothing came up for the ballot.
Okay, let's
But
have
I'm
somebody.
seeing everything,
Yes.
there.
So Jackie, I want to make sure you vote. So we'll have somebody call you. Do we have
Okay.
Jackie's number? Jackie, do you mind giving your number out or posting it in the chat?
As long as YouTube doesn't get it. 303.
Well, YouTube will get it if you're reading it out now, loud. So don't do
Jackie, you can private message someone, not the whole team.
Okay.
No, maybe I think we can look it up. Let's try look. We've got records.
Okay.
Does it end in 4627? Jackie.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so we have your number.
Okay. Thank you.
When you know that there's programs, just ping us.
Totally.
Because when I know, then I told Donnie, and I said,
Okay, please only speak if you're recognized. All right, so Jackie, somebody will call you. We have your phone number and we will ensure that you are able to fully participate as well. Glenna Cornish, you're recognized. Do you have a point of order or a question?
Question, I'm not sure if my vote went through and I don't want to vote a second time if it's going to complicate things.
Okay, let me ask our credentials committee if that's true. If we could confirm that Glenna Cornish has voted. Glenna, we did. Yeah, I'm being told that your vote was cast. Thank you for asking.
Thank you.
Of course. I hope I hope we set good expectations today, everybody, because your patience is really going to be tested today. I know it's already 2:13. So if you're feeling a little impatient, my advice, and this is what I'm doing for myself, is to calm myself and just accept the reality that we're going to be for just a little bit longer. So please be patient. I want to thank you all for that. Thirty-second warning. We're going to close the ballot in 30 seconds. By the way, I don't know if we mentioned this, but we are organizing an after party at Left Hand Brewery at 4180 Wine Coop after this event, an after party. Let me tell you, I got a beer waiting for me over there. So hopefully, I think many of you will as well. So if you're inclined to join us afterwards, just for a little FaceTime and some social time, come down to Left Hand Brewery at 4180 Wine Coop, please.
30 seconds.
30 seconds is done. So we're ready to close the ballot. I want to thank you all for voting. Give me 1 second. All right, so are we ready to share some results? All right, we can share the slide. All right, thank you. So based on this result, Diana DeGette has made threshold. Chris Reidner has not made the 15% threshold. So Diana DeGette will get 100% of the delegates from this assembly. All right, and again, these are preliminary results, as it says there, because these must be verified by the Credentials Committee after this meeting. All right, the next item on the agenda is approval of the platform committee report. Let's go ahead and give it to our platform chair, Michael Neal, and also Kate Sneed, our parliamentarian and secretary, will also be assisting with this portion of the meeting as well. So Michael, are you there?
Please have all received with your packet by email the platform. I would ask that I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the party platform in its entirety. A motion and a second are indeed required. Frankly, I wouldn't otherwise care whether we did this plank by plank, but we will be here till midnight if we do that choice. So I am asking for a motion.
So Sloan.
Second.
So moved.
So Sloan is our motion, our first. Emma.
I second the motion. Emma Bleacher.
Emma is our second motion. All right, Elliot, God, sorry. Michael, you can now call the question.
All right. So it looks like we've got a motion and a second. So I would ask for the adoption of the Denver County Democratic platform. And yes, it was sent to delegates prior to this assembly to review.
Okay, before we can, you've called the question. We've got a first and a second. So now it is room for discussion.
Yes,
And again,
that
it's discussion on the motion. The motion is to to approve the platform in its entirety. And your first hand up is Brady.
Yes.
I so move.
Okay,
to
thank
call the
you.
question. Yeah.
Great. Emma, do you have a discussion?
second.
Thank you, CL. Please raise your
Seconding
hand.
calling the question.
Okay, got that. So please lower your hands. We have that. We have the first and the second. It is now, if there's anyone who would like to discuss the motion to
Point of order.
Yes.
Calling of the question is a non-discussable motion.
I apologize. I did not know that the discussion was called. So trying to keep up here as much as I can. So the question was called. Brady, are you motion?
Yeah, that I was trying to call a point
Got
of
it.
order as well. I was calling the question.
Thank you. So Brady is our first. Emma was our second. Karen, Walt, and Chris, do you have points of clarification, or are you trying to make a motion or something? If you have, please put your hand down unless you have a point of clarification.
It was discussion unless that's closed.
Well, it's discussion. We didn't have any discussion. Somebody called for discussion, but nobody was recognized to discuss anything. That's what I'm waiting for.
Point of clarification. So I was the first person recognized, and I moved to call the question, which is to end debate and consider the motion. So if you, at this point, what happens, or is what should be happening, is we should be voting on whether or not to call the question.
But we didn't have a chance to discuss. Somebody
Well,
called.
then that's when you would vote no. I'm voting to not have discussion, and so if you disagree, then you would vote no.
Well.
Okay, I would like to thank you for the clarification. We are now going to take a vote. In order to call the question and not have debate, it requires a 2/3 vote. So we need to take, again, all we're doing right now is voting to not have debate and to just call the question. Requires 2/3. So please, put the check mark if you would like to support that we do not debate and we just move to voting, and X if you would like to allow time for debate. And we'll give you 1 minute. Can my timer start 1 minute, please? You have 1 minute, and then we'll call proxies after that. Spencer, do you have a point of clarification or question, or are you trying to vote?
Clarification, what is the question that we're voting on being called?
We are voting on whether we should not have debate on the county platform and just go immediately to voting on the county platform.
Well, actually, what you're saying is we're having a vote on whether we should close discussion, not whether we should not close discussion.
Correct.
Point of clarification.
Can you please raise hands for me, please? And I will call on you. The chair will call on you when Josh.
My apologies there. Point of clarification, as I recall, the motion on the table is to consider the parity platform in its entirety rather than going section by section. It is not on whether or not to approve the platform.
What?
Am I correct?
No, could you repeat that?
My understanding is that the question that's being called is whether we should vote on the party platform in its entirety or whether we should be voting on the party platform section by section. Am I correct in that?
Well, that's not what we're voting on. We're voting on whether to close discussion.
Right, but the discussion is on. I just want to clarify the discussion is not on whether to approve the party platform, but
right.
How we'll approve the party platform.
Right.
All right, I'm going to call it there for 278 yes, 47 no, and I'm going to put down everyone's hands, and then I need you to vote proxy, please. All right, I need a second to tally the results, please.
Second.
All right, so the motion was to close debate. The total number of voting was 372 people. Again, we need 2/3 of the group to agree on that in order to move forward, which is 245. And there were a total of 309 that voted yes, and so that passes. So now we need to vote on the platform as in its entirety. Michael, I'll hand it back to you to get the last motion and first and second.
Thank you. I would ask for a motion to adopt the platform that we have created. So I would need a motion and a second for that, and then we'll discuss.
So moved.
Nelson,
Second.
please stay on mute unless you are called by the chair or by me. Nelson.
Moved.
Thank you, Nelson. Nelson Boyle moves, and Brady Klein?
Second.
Seconded by Brady Klein. So now we will go to voting. I'm going to clear all. So at this point, your check mark is that you are voting to approve the platform, and your X is that you're voting to not approve the platform. Please do that. We'll give you everyone 2 minutes to make that happen. My timer got 2 minutes. Thank you.
Point of order.
Josh.
My understanding, the motion on the table is not to approve the platform. The motion on the table is to vote on the platform. Is to suspend the rules and to vote on the platform in its entirety rather than line by line.
No, we already took a vote on that. So this is
That was calling the question. Did we vote again? Did I just completely blank?
Yes.
I'm sorry. I apologize. Sorry.
That's okay. Not a problem. I understand. Diane. Time. What's the time? 30 seconds until we're closing the vote on this. Bob. Dwight. Chris.
Madam Parliamentarian, point of clarification off of the just previous question. I don't think we missed that vote. I think that there may be a procedural step, and this is just the messiness of Robert's rules. But the last question was a question to call the question, which was voted on. We would then need to record a vote on the question, which we didn't, before then proceeding on to the current motion. I hate to bring that up, but it's just one of those places that rules get sloppy, except if I'm wrong.
Okay, now
We're
we
gonna-
will put proxies.
In reviewing my notes and our secretary's notes, I believe I have followed the correct parliamentary procedure. So I'm going to stick with that and make that ruling. And if you disagree, well, then you can select me to not be the rule person after today. Thank you. All right, we have, I have the proxy vote of 16 yeses, 5 noes. Give me a moment to calculate the results. We voted, there are 407 that voted and 382 supported and 25 did not support. So that passes and the platform has been approved.
All right, thank you, everybody. By the way, Scott, can you show us the room? I just want people to see what's going on over here. Yes. Oh, you don't have a camera. Just so you all know, can you spotlight me? Yeah, there you go. Spotlight Kate. You're not spotlighting. Got to spotlight Kate. You had it.
There, it's there.
All right, there you go.
Hello.
So
We
this is
can't
our
see it.
approved credentials committee, everybody else. Yeah. This is our command center for this meeting. I want to thank everybody for showing up and making this happen.
I can't see
Last
it.
piece of business that we need to take care of in this meeting is I'd like to entertain a motion. So we have, this is an assembly and a convention. This is 2 meetings in one. And the convention process exists to nominate or to elect delegates eventually to go to the national convention to nominate the president and the vice president. And so that convention process rides along in parallel to our state assembly process in Colorado. And so all of us here who were elected delegates at caucus were elected to be delegates to the Denver Convention and Assembly. What we're going to do next is we're going to elect delegates to go to the Congressional District Assembly and Convention and elect delegates to the State Assembly and Convention. Now, we could do two sets of delegates, one set of Assembly delegates and one set of Convention delegates. I'd prefer not to do that. Let's keep it simple. And this is what we are typically doing. And this is the recommended process. But I do need a motion to affect that. So I would like to ask for a motion to make the delegates elected to the Congressional District Assembly and the State Assembly also the delegates to the Congressional District Convention and the State Convention.
So
Okay,
moved,
so-
Paul Van Dusen.
Brady Klein. Brady
So
Klein.
moved. So moved. From Brady Klein, sorry.
Pee on the
I
floor,
heard myself get recognized.
All right, yeah, Brady, did you, sorry, that was, my volume was down. Did you make that motion?
Yes, I so moved.
Thank you very much. Is there a second?
Second, Paula Van
Hold on.
Dusen.
Well, hold on. Please wait to be recognized. Aonte Anderson.
Second, Aon Anderson, 808.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Lily Joe, did you want to contribute to the discussion?
No, sorry.
Okay, Anita Lynch?
I call for the question.
Okay, Anita Lynch has called the question. Is there a second? Michael
Second.
Neal, are you making that Please wait to be recognized. Michael Neal, are you making that second? Okay, second. So let's take a vote. Use your reactions. Please lower your hands.
Second, Paula Van Dusen.
Hold on.
Vote with hands or vote with the X and the check mark?
You're muted.
Always vote with a check mark and the X. Do not vote with hands. Hands are to be recognized. If you raise your hand, I'm going to call your name out and ask you if you have something to say. So use the check mark or the X's to vote. So what we're voting on is to call the question on the motion to make the assembly delegates to the congressional and the state, also the convention delegates, so that we only have one set of delegates to elect. All right, Lyric McKnight, did you have a question or a point of order?
There was request in the chat to define these and to also list whether they are virtual.
Though these are virtual meetings, both of them are. By both, I mean the Congressional District Assembly and Conventions and the State Assembly and Convention are both virtual meetings. Thank you for asking. Aaron Pruitt, did you have a question or a point of order?
Yeah, I'm confused why there's not any discussion on this.
So
it used to be, and I've skipped one of these processes. It used to be that the Congressional District elected their own delegates to state. Has that changed?
No.
Then why are we doing it this way? I mean, it gives us greater diversity if we're doing. Excuse me. It gives us a greater diversity.
Hold on a second, please. You are out of order. We are not having a discussion.
I'm not out of order. I didn't complete my question. I didn't complete my
statement.
You
are asking a question.
You are
about
interrupting me, sir.
motion.
You are out of order.
Okay.
Okay?
That's a fun one. All right. Nice. No, what we're doing is the question has been called. Discussion. We are voting to call the question.
But we need discussion on this. This is pretty major.
So we had the floor was open for discussion, and then somebody called the question.
I had my hand raised, and I was never called. You guys have routinely stopped discussion. I understand everybody wants to get out of here, but that's actually not the democratic process. That's totalitarianism. We're no better than Trump Republicans if we're going to squash discussion.
We are
Please stop
following
muting me.
We are following.
You're not having a
parliamentary-
discussion on this.
Okay, you are not recognized. I'm the chair of the meeting and I'm speaking now. We are following parliamentary procedure. A motion was made. I opened the floor for discussion. Somebody called the question, and so that is what we're voting on now. So that is what Robert's rules prescribe as a process, and we're going to stick to that process. So to clarify what the original motion was, we are voting to vote for one set of delegates to the Congressional District Assembly and one set of delegates to the State Assembly. That's all we're doing. That's all the original motion was. The question has been called. And now we are voting to close debate on that original motion. Melissa Wittenberg, did you have a point of order or a question?
A question.
Go ahead.
I am new and I've done some reading, but could you just clarify the difference between the two?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So on presidential years, which is what we're in now, what the state has to eventually do is elect delegates to the National Convention, which is in Chicago in August.
Right.
And the National Convention elects or nominates the president and the vice president. And each state gets a number of delegates. Each state Democratic Party approves a delegate selection plan, which is the process for getting those delegates elected to the National Convention. So what we have to do in Colorado is hold conventions for the county, the congressional district, and the state to get those delegates elected all the way up. On presidential election years, those conventions are held in parallel to the assemblies, which we do every 2 years. And the assemblies, of course, are to put candidates on the ballot. So we can elect 2 sets of delegates to go all the way through, or we can have 1 set of delegates go all the way through. And so the motion is to have 1 set of delegates. So if you're elected today to be a congressional district assembly delegate, you're also the congressional convention delegate. Does that make sense? You are delegates to both.
Stuff.
Right. And then the state also separately, if you are elected to be a delegate to the state assembly, you're also elected to be a convention delegate. What we're saying is, instead of having 2 separate elections, we'll have 1, and the same set of people go to both of those meetings.
Okay,
Does that
thank
help?
you.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Miriam.
Hi there. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Quick question. I'm a little confused. All I
Sure.
want to be able to do is be a delegate to vote for a friend of mine who's running for the DNC. I'm
Mhm.
assuming that's the state. Does that mean I would have to be available for 2 separate virtual meetings? And what are the
So-
dates of those? Because I think I have a conflict on one, and would I be able to assign a proxy to one and not the other?
So let me ask you, Miriam, when you say DNC, that can mean 2 things. That could be the Democratic National Convention or the Democratic National Committee. So the committee is a standing body. And Committee. So Colorado elects 4 people.
Right.
To the National Committee. That happens at the State Assembly. So
Right.
you would become a delegate to the State Assembly.
Perfect. But does that also mean I will be a delegate for another assembly?
No, it's 1 meeting. You'll be a
meeting.
delegate. Just like this. So this meeting today is an assembly and a convention. It's 1 meeting. So the
Okay.
state also has the same thing. So instead of sending 2 sets to that meeting, we're going to send 1 set and you'll be both, just like today. Same experience.
Perfect. And what is the date of that?
Do we have the dates handy? I don't have the dates handy. Does
Is it
anybody?
April 13th? The April 13th meeting?
I believe April 14th, right?
13th.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Timothy Lopez, did you have a question or a point of order? All right, Owen Perkins, do you have a question or a point of order?
Yeah, maybe a point of order, but James, I think there's a little confusion. When you're talking about electing the same delegates for both roles, you're not talking about electing CD1 delegates to also serve as state delegates.
Correct,
You're
you're
talking
right.
about CD1 convention delegates to also serve as CD1 assembly delegates.
Correct.
And for state delegates, convention delegates to also serve as state assembly delegates.
That's correct. So
We're
we
still electing two sets,
We need a
but
vote.
within that convention and assembly, the delegates would serve both roles at that one day.
Yes, thank you for clarifying that, Owen. That is correct. We're not, in other words, Karen Schumacher, did you have a question or point of order?
Yes, for those of us who are delegates to the assembly, I'm confused about the numbers. What are the numbers of delegates that we're going to be voting for both?
So each house district gets a different number of delegates. The entire county was awarded 333 to state and 335 to CD1. And
So
then
are we? So
each house district will announce those numbers when you go into your house district meeting.
So everybody that is a delegate today will automatically be a delegate to the.
You'll have to sign up in your house district meeting.
But okay, so we sign up.
Mhm.
When you say house district meeting, do you mean house district assembly?
Correct. Thanks for clarifying that. Well, I say meeting because the multi-county districts are not having their assemblies today. They're just having a meeting to elect delegates. But in that meeting, they'll also elect delegates to the state and congressional district assemblies.
Okay, what I'm confused about is, I guess, let's bring it down to the personal. So I'm a delegate. I would like to be a delegate to the state.
Yes. You'll do that in the house district breakout. You'll sign up there. All right.
James,
okay.
I'm sorry, I was on mute when you
Okay,
called.
go ahead, Kathy. Go ahead.
I'm confused because I know the person who got on earlier was saying we haven't discussed some of this. Are we voting on something and then we'll discuss it? Or are we going to give time to discuss it before?
This is
So
a technical.
that has already passed. We're voting on the motion now. So the
Okay.
motion was put on the floor. It was seconded. We opened the floor for discussion. That was the time to be recognized for discussion. Then somebody made a motion to call the question. We voted to call the question. If you want more discussion when the question is called, you vote no on calling the question. Calling the question passed. That closes debate. And now we're voting on the original main motion. We are following parliamentary procedure here. We're not deviating. I am not trying to squash or silence voices. But we are bound by the rules to follow parliamentary procedure per Robert's Rules of Order, and I will stick to that.
But my question is not a discussion. My question is technical to James as a delegate. I still haven't an answer to that. How can I move from the assembly to the CD1 as a delegate?
Okay, so Karen, I did answer that question. When you go to your House District meeting next, you will have an opportunity to sign up to be a delegate to the State Assembly, and you will have an opportunity to sign up to be a delegate to the Congressional District Assembly.
So we just sign up. We don't have to be elected?
Unless there are more people unless there are more people, then there are slots, but you have plenty of slots. That typically doesn't happen.
I see. Okay. And so if I sign up so that, and there are more people than there are a number of delegates, then that would be elected.
That's right.
Have election at the House District meeting.
That's correct. That is correct.
Thank you.
Okay. So we have 265 in favor, 11 against, or voting no, I should say. Are you capturing that? 265 yes, 11 no. So now let's clear the reactions and vote proxies.
Clear.
Chat was 400 people.
All right, so 238 in favor,
It's just
one
insane.
against the proxy. So please mute if you're not recognized.
What are we voting on now?
That should pass that's just majority, right?
I'll lose the proxy vote for what we just voted on.
Okay, please mute.
I haven't voted.
Okay, hold on.
I think this is still the question of the.
Okay. Please mute if you're not recognized. We're picking up background conversations and stuff. All right, so that passed. Ooh, man, I thought that was gonna be like a 5-minute-er. All right. All right, that concludes the business here. I'm gonna give it to our first Vice Chair, Leah Dean, to close us out.
Okay. Before we move on to the next segment of our meeting, I want to give you a quick rundown of what's going to happen next. First, we're going to adjourn the Denver Democratic Assembly. Then we are going to separate out into our HD breakouts. Once you're done with your HD breakout, please come back to the main assembly room. I'll give instructions in a moment, don't worry. Also, I wanted to let you know that I know we all wanted to be in person today, but unfortunately we had to be virtual. That being said, for those who would like to meet up in person, there's going to be a happy hour after this at Left Hand Brewery, which is at 4180 Wynkoop, right by Mission Ballroom. To be respectful of everyone's time, if you have an announcement, please put it in the chat or in our Denver Dem Slack channel. We will not be opening the floor for announcements today. Once we've adjourned, we will break out into our House District breakouts. You're going to see a pop-up on your screen. Please click on your House District. If you're unsure of your House District, please raise your hand. You finally get to raise your hand for something, and we are going to call on you and help you out the best that we can. Please be patient with us. There are only a few of us in this room to help over 500 of you. Now, before we go into our breakout rooms, before you see the pop-ups on our screen, I will now entertain a motion to adjourn by raising your hand only. Please do not yell, please. Okay, the first hand I see up is Emma Bleesner. Emma?
I move to close the meeting.
Okay. So we have a motion by Emma Bleesner. Next hand I see is Brady Klein. Brady, you're recognized.
Seconded.
Okay, I have a second by Brady Klein. We are going to use the voting functions one more time. Please click on your reactions and click on the green check mark for yes to adjourn this portion of our meeting, and a red if you would like to continue to stay here. I give all of you a minute to vote for that. "30 seconds. There is no discussion on this. It is simply to adjourn. Okay, I am going to close the vote. We have 414 yeses, 2 noes, and 1 celebration. I should have voted that way. So now, do not leave yet. Scott Mangino is about to open up the breakout rooms. Once that happens, click on your house district. Once you're done with your house district, please come back here. We will then go into Senate districts if that is a thing for you, okay? Once we're all done, finally done, laptops closed, phones off, iPads figured out, if you would like to continue this, you can go on in a very pleasant way to Left Hand Brewery by Mission Ballroom. We are ready for breakout rooms.
Point of order, I don't believe that a vote for proxy was called.
And I did not recognize anybody for a point of order, so I apologize for that. So I have no idea who that was to even call on you.
Sorry,
Okay,
I had my
never
hand
mind.
raised. It was Brady.
I can only do so much with so many of you, and the chair already said that the meeting is adjourned. So we will go ahead and go into breakout rooms now. If you do not see the pop-up, at the very bottom, there should be 3 little dots that say more. Click on that, click on breakout, and then you'll see HD1, HD2, HD3, etc. Please join your house district. We know that 4, 6, and 8 will be fun to watch, but join your house district. See you all in 4 if you're in 4.
It's not letting me in, Leah.
I don't see any list of house districts. I can't sign into one. There's not. Where do I see the, I'm under more, and I don't see any list of house districts.
Still says final instructions, Leah Dean, first chair.
Breakout rooms. Go to breakout rooms.
It doesn't say go to breakout.
Hold on,
room.
hold on, hold on, everyone. This is Scott here. You should see under more a section called breakout rooms.
No, there is none.
There is none. That's right.
Well, there definitely is, because we only have 93 people left in this room, so everyone else found them.
Click on
So
more
if we
and
go to
then
more or breakout rooms, then you will see a list of house districts, not on the slide. We'll actually ask Jared to stop sharing the slides.
Yep.
So do you all see a section called